Officer Brett Robinson is suing 23-year-old student Anissa Davis for filing a false complaint with his department. Anissa is countersuing for emotional distress due to malicious prosecution.
Yeah, this is case number 85 on the calendar in the matter of Robinson versus Davis.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
You are a police officer, sir, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where are you a police officer?
Los Angeles Police Department.
How long have you been a police officer?
19 years.
According to what I've read, you gave the defendant a traffic ticket, and that traffic ticket was for speeding?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the speed that she was traveling, and what was the zone?
She was traveling 58 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone.
Your complaint states that subsequent to giving her a ticket, she wrote a letter, or a series of letters, one to your captain, one to the chief, complaining about the treatment she received from you. And as a result of those letters, there was an investigation, and while there was a finding of no fault, I assume, is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Those letters will remain in your file, and you want to be compensated because you said everything that she said about you was a lie.
That's true.
So first I have to find out from Ms. Davis, I'd like to see from you a copy of the letter that you sent to Officer Robinson's superiors. Now, can you also please identify who your witnesses are?
I am my father, James Davis, and my mother, Winnie Davis.
Okay. And neither of them were present during the course of this
No, they weren't.
incident, is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. And your father, from what I gather from your answer, as well as from Officer Robinson's complaint, is a retired police officer, is that right?
Yes.
All right. Now, Ms. Davis, I would like you to start from the beginning.
Okay.
The very beginning,
Your Honor,
and tell me what happened when Officer Robinson stopped you.
Well, I would like to start off by saying that it has nothing to do with the actual citation. I wrote the letter about expressing my feelings to the police department about the way that I was treated and how I felt.
Why don't you just answer my question? I asked you to tell me what happened from the moment that he pulled you over for speeding.
Okay.
Good.
He pulled me over and he told me that I was allegedly going too fast.
Pulled you over,
Mm-hmm.
and he said to you, what were his words?
I don't remember his exact
What
words.
did you say to him?
Hello. I rolled down my window. He asked for my license and registration.
Did you have your license?
Yes, I did.
Did you have your registration?
Yes, I did.
Fine. So he took the license, and what did he do with it?
He proceeded to tell me what he stopped me for, and he went back to his car.
No, I don't want you to tell me he proceeded to tell me what he stopped me for. He said something to you. I stopped you for speeding. You were going 58 miles in a 40-hour zone. What did he
Yes.
say to you, Miss Davis?
I'm sorry, I'm
He
just very nervous.
Well, get unnervous. Did he say to you, I'm giving you a ticket because you were speeding?
Yes.
Fine. And what did you say to him?
I asked him if he knew my father.
And what did he say to you?
He said he knew exactly who my father was.
You said to him, do you know who my father is? And he must have said to you, who's your father?
Yes.
And you said?
Jim Davis.
And he said, I know exactly who your father
He said,
is.
yes, he's a retired police officer. Yes, he did. That's what
No,
he said.
what did he say to you? Did he say, I know he's a retired police
said,
officer, or did he say, I know
He said,
exactly
yes,
who your father
he's a
is?
retired police officer. I know exactly who he is.
Fine. And then what did he do?
He went back to his motorcycle to continue writing my ticket.
And what did you do?
I looked for my insurance.
Did you find it?
Yes.
And did you, at some point, get out of the car?
Yes.
Was it before or after you found your insurance?
Probably during. I made a phone call on my cell phone.
Who did you make a phone call to?
To my father.
What for?
Because I was nervous about the way I was being treated.
So far, you have been treated perfectly.
Yeah, but...
So far, you have been treated perfectly, professionally and perfectly. So
I'm
what did you
talking
call
about-
your father for?
Because I wanted to ask him a question.
What question did you want to ask him?
About my insurance, because I had just gotten a new insurance card because my car had been broken into, so I
Perfectly
called.
reasonable. So when you got your father on the phone, what did you say to him?
I told him that I had just been stopped by a police officer for speeding, and he said, can I talk to the officer? So at that point, with the insurance in my hand, I got out of the car, and I went up to him, and I asked him if I could ask him something, and he put his hand up in my face.
No, you didn't say that to him at all. Don't give me baloney. You said, my father wants to talk to you.
No, I said, can my father talk to you? Can I?
Right, that's
Yes.
exactly what you said. Can my father talk to you? Don't leave that out. And he put his hand up in your face and said what?
He said, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to anybody. Go to your car. He didn't want to discuss anything further with
Sounds
me.
perfectly right to me. Doesn't it sound perfectly right to you, former retired police officer Davis? That requires a simple yes or no. Is anything
Yes,
that your
ma'am.
daughter said to you sound untoward on the part of this officer?
She's left a couple of things out.
No, you weren't there.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
You weren't there. So if you were me, and you've been around the ballpark a little bit, if you were me listening to your daughter right now, would you find anything untoward in this police officer's conduct?
Only the part about he didn't want to talk to her and go have a seat in the car.
No. What she said was she wanted him to talk to you, and you were going to try to talk him out of giving your daughter a ticket.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Absolutely, positively, 100%. As I'm sitting here and he's standing there.
Not anymore.
Speak. Listen to me. Speak not. Otherwise, there is absolutely no reason for you to have.
May I say something?
Called. Say nothing, sir. Don't embarrass yourself.
I won't.
You will. Believe me, you will. You will embarrass yourself because that is exactly what happened. She called you on the phone and she said, I'm going to get a speeding ticket. And you said, let me speak to the guy. That's what your daughter told me.
That's not correct.
Well, that's what your daughter just told me. You mean she's lying? She said to me, my father said, let me talk to him. And I got out of the car holding my insurance card in my hand with the phone, and she walked over to him and said to him, my father wants to talk to you. And he put up his hand and he said, I don't want to talk to you, and I don't want to talk to your father. That's what she just told me. I didn't make that up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know why you called your father, and the fact that he wouldn't respond to it is to his credit.
But the fact is that he did not want to continue to talk to me.
He doesn't have to talk to you. You want to talk to somebody, go to a psychiatrist.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Police officer Brett Robinson says after giving Anissa Davis a speeding ticket, she filed a false complaint with his department.
Go ahead.
She left out part of the phone conversation, which I was privileged to. Where she asked me, she told me she got stopped for speeding. And I asked her, I said, did he use a radar? Did he follow you? Did he estimate your speed? What did he do? And she said, I don't know. And I said, get out of the car and ask him. She came back 2 seconds later and said, he said it was not radar. And I said, fine. And she said, would you like to talk to him? And I said, if he'll talk to me, I'll talk to him.
Listen to me, sir. Those are questions that are left for a court. You know that, and I know that. The way to fight a ticket is to go to a hearing and ask just the questions that you wanted her to ask this officer when he was giving her a ticket. He is under no obligation whatsoever to provide that information. And you know that as a former police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, he did nothing untoward. Nothing. And she had no right to write a letter. None. Now you may be seated. Now I'm going to ask you some other things. Who wrote the letter?
I did.
With whose help?
With my mother and father.
Right.
But I wrote the letter with my thoughts and my ideas.
Your
My
thoughts and your
feelings.
ideas. Listen to me. I want you to understand something. I've been around the ballpark a long time. How did I know that you did not write this letter by yourself?
I'm an educated college student. I don't know why
Well,
why I wouldn't be able to write
Because
this
I
letter.
could tell that you didn't write it yourself. That's how. Come. I could tell you didn't write it yourself. It may have been your thoughts or your ideas, but the words weren't all yours. So that comes out of vindictiveness. He was annoyed that this officer gave his daughter a ticket and would not get on the phone with him because, after all, he should have done it as a courtesy. And he didn't.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's true.
I
It's
did-
absolutely true. And you did the wrong thing because you were a spoiled brat driving a little bit too fast and you got stopped, and your father, I don't know if he's ever gotten you out of difficulty before, but you figured, while I'm looking for my insurance card, I'm going to call my father. There was no reason for that because you had the insurance card in your hand. You had any questions for your father, you ask him the questions after you get the ticket when you get home. There was no reason to call him then. Absolutely none. So you know why you called your father. I know why you called your father. He knows why you called your father, and the fact that he wouldn't respond to it is to his credit. that you got no more of a favor than anybody else that he might have stopped.
But the fact is that he did not want to continue to talk to me.
He doesn't have to talk to you. You want to talk to somebody, go to a psychiatrist. He doesn't have to talk to you. He's giving you a ticket.
To someone who's a police officer, who I look up to, who is on duty in uniform.
Please.
Someone who I look up to and I respect, and who doesn't want to even talk to me after that whole incident.
Let me explain something to you, madam. He doesn't want to be pressured. And before you got out of the car with your cell phone, with your father on the line, he said nothing untoward to you. According to you, and even according to your father. It wasn't until after you made the phone call, according to you, that he put his hand up in your face and refused to talk to you. And he doesn't have to talk to you. That's what you go to therapy for. His responsibility is to give you a ticket, to say, quiet, and to say license, registration. I am giving you a ticket for speeding. I'm speaking. Now you're not so nervous anymore. You're interrupting the judge. I'm giving you a ticket for speeding. You were going 58 miles in a 40-hour zone. Here is your ticket. You can respond to it. You can plead guilty. You can plead not guilty. That's it. Other than that, he has to say diddly squat to you. So he acts totally professionally. License, registration, proof of insurance. Thank you very much. Have a seat in your car. You don't like it? You go home, you pick up the phone, you call your therapist, and you say, I had a very bad day today. I need an appointment. I need to vent for an hour. You don't write a letter to his superiors. Now, my question to you, sir, is you've been very quiet. The reason I started with her first is because what's the point in listening to you? I wanted to find out what she was complaining about.
Yes, sure.
Now, you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes,
I want to know what you're going to do with this $5,000 if you get it.
I really hadn't had any plans for that yet. What I wanted to ask you, or what I wanted to tell you earlier, is that what she put in the letter obviously is completely untrue, and I have proof of that. I have a tape recording of the conversation that occurred between Miss Davis and myself. What she has told her father, what she has told you, and what she has told the station is completely untrue.
Oh, I would like to hear that. You mean it's even worse?
Can I respond to
Well,
that?
Absolutely not.
So what's on the tape and what you've read in the letter is night and day.
Go ahead.
Afternoon. I'm Officer Robinson with LAPD. Three things. The first one is I got your speed here on Wilbur with a laser at 58. Your speeding is 40. And then I also noticed that your left brake light is out and you stuck on the brakes when I'm coming behind you. Do you have your license with you?
Do you have a transcript?
Yes, I do.
Can I see the transcript,
Yes, you
please?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
First of all, I had no clue that he had this. This is the first time I've heard of it. And but he has control to start, stop, and alter any part of this tape.
I want to read what you say. I mean, that's your voice, right? He didn't get somebody to dub your voice.
No, I'm saying, but
Good.
he has the option as his recorder to...
Quiet. Initially, when he said, do you have your license with you? You know what you responded to him? I do, which I heard there. Oh, wow. My dad's a policeman, too, and I'm having the worst time of all.
Oh, wow.
With my finals, I don't know if this matters at all. My dad works with you. Oh, Miss Davis, do you live on Brimer? Yes. Who is your father? Sergeant Davis. He works for Valley Traffic. He's a sergeant, too. Is he a motorcycle officer? Yes, he is. What's his first name? You say Jim Davis. Officer. Yeah, your dad's retired. I know who your dad is, but he's retired. It doesn't matter whether he's working or retired. You're responsible for your own driving. You say your vehicle is registered. What year is it? It's a 95. All right. All right. He says to you, wait right here. I'll be right with you. And then you say to him, my dad wants to talk to you for a second. I'm not going to talk and handle your phone. Why don't you go ahead and wait over there by your vehicle or in your vehicle?
Can I add that he put his hand in my face and said, I'm not talking to your dad, I'm not talking to you, go to your vehicle?
I'm holding a ticket book in my left hand.
Just a second, so what?
And a pin in my
Just
right.
a minute. So
You had your ticket book.
So listen to me.
Pen.
So what?
To me, a man in uniform, someone who works for the Los Angeles Police Department, should not be putting a hand in my face.
You're a big baby.
No.
You're a big baby. I don't know how many times your father's gotten you out of scrapes before. This time, he couldn't, and you got annoyed, and so did he.
This had nothing to do with the citation.
Listen to me. Can't you get this through your head? He did nothing wrong. You did. First you were speeding, and then you tried to get out of the ticket by telling him that your father was a police officer. You did something wrong. And then when you got the ticket anyway, you wrote a letter, and your father, maybe because he has nothing better to do, and your mother, I don't know what she does, participated in authoring this letter, which is going to sit in his personnel file, and it's wrong. And you owe him an apology. So stop defending your behavior. You owe him an apology.
And I didn't write the letter for the citation. He's doing this for retaliation for personal gain. He's suing me for $5,000 because I'm expressing my feelings to the department about how he lacks.
You've been living in L.A. too long.
No, actually,
I think you ought to go live someplace else. You've been living in L.A. too long.
Actually,
now I want you to be. Now I want you to be quiet because I'm speaking.
Life.
For somebody who's nervous, you talk pretty well. So I want you to be quiet. My question to you, officer, it's worse than what I thought, because she tried to influence you through her father immediately on being stopped. It wasn't later on, as she has indicated, but it was immediate.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? What I'm asking you, Officer Robinson, is you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
She's got a counterclaim, ridiculous counterclaim, because for $5,000, punitive damages and emotional distress due to malicious prosecution.
And
she's operating in La La Land someplace.
I have copies of all of my medical and psychiatric things right here when you're...
Listen, shh. Hey, quiet. Listen to me. You were wrong. Get it through your head. Madam, you were wrong. Your counterclaim is dismissed. All I'm asking you is,
citation.
What do you plan on doing with the $5,000? Are you planning on keeping it, or is there a charitable organization through the LAPD that you would like to donate this money to? If I give you the money, now that I've told her she is, whether she gets it or not, 150% out of line. She had no right to write the letter. He had no right to participate in writing the letter. He should have asked the same questions I did. He should have known that his daughter did the wrong thing by bringing up his name when she got stopped for a ticket. Maybe her mother doesn't understand enough to tell her that she did the wrong thing, to encourage this kind of irresponsible behavior. But I'm going to ask you, what do you want to do with the money?
Well, I think I would like to donate to the Police Memorial Foundation.
That sounds just fine. I'm entering a judgment for $5,000. But since I believe that Ms. Davis maligned the police department as well as you, $2,500 of that will go to the LAPD Memorial Foundation, $2,500 to you. Thank you very much. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. Yeah, this is case number 116 on the calendar in the matter of Hinton versus Harbor Estrada. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
How old are you, Mr. Hinton?
19.
What's your first name?
Sammy?
Sammy, what's your last name?
Harbor.
Sammy used to be your girlfriend.
Yes.
This is her mom.
Yes, ma'am.
What you're complaining about is, while Sammy was your girlfriend, you claim to have loaned her some stereo equipment for her car.
Yes.
And you want it back.
Yes.
Sammy says you didn't loan her anything. You made her a gift of the stereo equipment for her car. And in addition, that you've been making a real pest of yourself, harassing her. You broke into her car, took back a piece of the equipment that you claim to have loaned her, an amplifier. Is that right, Sammy?
Yes.
Is that right, Mr. Hinton?
No.
Did you take back an amplifier?
No, Your Honor.
Who did? Anybody you know?
I've never heard nothing about it.
Mr. Hinton, let's not play with each other. Do you have the amplifier back?
No, Your Honor.
They also say that you broke into the house,
It's not correct.
killed our goldfish, calling, sending emails, making a general pest of yourself. And they're countersuing. So tell me how it came about that you gave her this stereo equipment.
Well, we broke up May of 2002. We remained friends, and in August she came over and wanted to borrow all that equipment. We were still friends, and I had plenty of it, so I let her borrow it. And she wanted to borrow the amplifier.
Tell me what she said to you.
She said, "Can I borrow it?"
Can I borrow what? Mr. Hinton?
Can I borrow the speakers, the amplifier, 212s, 210s? And she just bought a new car. She wanted to put it in there. And she said she'd give it back once her mother bought her some new ones.
She'd give it back once her mother bought her some new ones.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said, yes. We're still
Well, what would
friends.
happen, Mr. Hinton, if her mother never bought her new ones?
Well, she'd eventually give it back.
You didn't have that discussion.
Well, she said her mother would buy her new ones.
That's not what you said to me, Mr. Hinton. You got to be very careful, sir. You got to get up real early in the morning. If I believed what you say, she said, can I borrow yours or can I have yours until my mother buys me my own?
She said, can I borrow yours until my mother buys me some own?
Right. Okay, let's say she said that to you.
And...
Shh, listen to me. Let's say she said that to you.
All right.
Let me explain a contract
right.
to you, Mr. Hinton. Because what you're suing on is a verbal contract. A loan. A loan has to have an offer and acceptance and some possibility, an offer, which means you offered to loan her the equipment. She accepted the offer to borrow the equipment, according to you. That's not what she's going to tell me, but according to you. And then there has to be an event that's going to happen that causes the equipment to go back. Do you understand? An event like May 2nd, June 6th, on Bird's birthday, on my birthday, on your birthday, the equipment's going to go back. In your case, what you told me is she told you that the equipment would go back to you when her mother bought her new equipment. Do you understand?
Yes.
And my question to you is, what happens if her mother never buys her new equipment? That means you never get your equipment back. Do you understand the terms of the contract, sir?
Yes, but a few months I called her back and she said she'd send it back with her mother when she came to Albuquerque. And then I waited, her mother never showed up. I called again, she gave me the same runaround. So then the third time I called, she said, if you want your stuff, come get it yourself. And she lives about 3 hours away from me. So I drive down there, I stay at a friend's house, Las Cruces, which is about 70 miles from there.
Shh, don't interrupt him.
Which is about 70 miles from there. And I call her in the morning before she goes to school. She says, come get it at 3:30. I said, all right. I go over there, I call her house, nobody's home. I call again after I drive around, still nobody's there. So I go to her school.
You're putting me to sleep, you know that.
I go to her school, and I see her car there. I'm parked out there in the parking lot, and I see her grandparents. They drive up to my car saying, what are you doing here? We don't want you here. We don't want you around Sammy Joe. I say, Sammy Joe told me to come get my stuff. I'm here to get it. Then they give me saying that I stole stuff from her, CDs, tapes from a 70-year-old woman and man. I don't think I listen to that kind of music. And then I say, can you just go ask Sammy Joe if she has my stuff so I can get out of this town? They park next to a gray car. They come back, and the gray car comes circling around me, like the guys in the car throwing their hands up, yelling and wanting to fight. The grandparents are all, look, they don't want you in this town. You better leave. I said, what did Sammy Joe say? He said, your equipment's in her boyfriend's car, and you're not getting it back. Your Honor, her boyfriend don't even have a car. So at that point, I was frustrated. I went home, and I received these emails from her, some very vulgar emails, if you'd like to read them.
I would certainly like to read them.
And in...
Mr. Hinton, how old was Sammy when you gave her the equipment?
15.
See, that's another problem you have, Mr. Hinton, because what you are suing on in court is a contract, right?
Yes.
Because a contract can be written or it can be verbal. You didn't have a written contract. With her, it was verbal, right?
But my witness was there when she said about it.
You're not paying attention to me, sir. You're paying attention to what's going on in your own head. What we're talking about here is a verbal contract, which has the same force and effect as a written contract, right? Except you have to be 18. Because a minor can't enter into a binding contract. Now read the emails. Well, this has, although this has to do with your lack of sexual prowess, sir, this has nothing to do with this has absolutely nothing to do with the stereo equipment. It's interesting.
This one, right?
Listen to me. It's interesting, but it has absolutely nothing to do with this case. So while I found it sort of salty, dear, I won't even show it to your mother.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been incarcerated?
No.
Would you like to be incarcerated?
No.
There is a strong possibility that if you don't leave these people alone, you're going to find yourself incarcerated.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jacob Hinton says ex-girlfriend 16-year-old Sammy Jo Harbor owes for the return of a car stereo. Sammy Jo says Jacob won't stop harassing her.
Now I'll read the other one. Thanks, Bird. What is this?
It's a letter my grandmother wrote.
I'm not interested in a letter that your grandmother wrote, sir.
Asking her about whether or not I let her borrow it or not. And she says, in the highlighted, she clearly writes that she's going to return it.
Talk about a PlayStation here.
Yeah, in her counterclaim, she says she bought the whole PlayStation, which she did not. In that, she says she did not.
Get with the issue, Mr. Hinton. The issue is the stereo equipment for the car. Now, Sammy, how old are you, dear?
16.
First of all, I'm going to suggest that there's a very good lesson to you. Don't put things in writing that you don't want other people to read. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you have some emails to show me that he sent to you?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them.
Are you sure?
Am I sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are from one of his friends from Albuquerque.
I don't want to read emails from his friends.
Well, from him and him telling this
Just
girl.
a second. Would you return these to him? I don't have time to read a tome. If I wanted to read a good book, I would buy a good book. Get me the emails from him.
There's one in the back.
And don't aggravate me. My voice is going today. Thanks, Bird. I guess you're not going into the ministry either. You know that there are other four-letter words in the English language like love and like and...
Like?
And bike, right? Bike, right? Joke. Dumb. It's a four-letter word that comes to mind.
Hate.
Hate. No. Dumb. No. Doesn't hate. He's 19. He was 18. He was 17 when he was involved with your daughter. They have raging hormones. You know, their best friend isn't their mind.
No.
If you know what I mean.
Not by
Both of them.
I know.
Both of them. Their best friend isn't their brain. Sometimes it stays that way.
Hopefully not.
All right, but I don't want to deal with this anymore. Mr. Hinton, you gave her the stereo equipment. Get over it. Stop crying. Stop fetching. Now, what proof do you have that he broke into your house and your harassment, the emails that you're talking about, the emails that he wrote to her?
Yeah.
You ought to read hers.
I have. Yes.
Well, so stop. I don't want any fetching about the emails. I want to know what proof that you have that he broke into your house.
During the time that we were together, which is approximately 2 years, he was over at my house a lot, and I have 2 dogs, and they don't let strangers into our yard and our house area. And we had just moved here, and they're not going to let anybody they don't know into our yard. And they broke into my room specifically, and he's the only one that had been in my house and knows what room.
That's not proof good enough for a court.
Ma'am,
Unless your mother has some other proof.
the neighbor across the street saw a vehicle.
Be more than
like
happy to
his.
hear the neighbor.
Well,
That's not
this
the neighbor.
isn't the neighbor.
That's
This
not
is
the
the boy that was there that she was a witness to when he gave her the equipment, but,
I need a witness.
okay.
Not you telling me what a witness is going to tell me. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you have any proof?
An email where he admitted stealing the CDs out of the car.
That if he admitted,
Go get it.
to shut. Hey, if you have an email where he acknowledges that he stole property out of her car, I will read it.
We didn't bring it, but we do have it. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you had the email, I would read it.
Okay.
That's a confession. It's a
Yes,
written
ma'am.
confession. And then I would show it to him. Confront him with it. Anything else?
Well, we're countersuing for the harassment, too. Not only did
What harassment?
calling, coming by, we asked him not to call our house. He threatened her. He broke into my house, which you say I can't prove. That's fine. He claimed his grandmother, which you have that email, said that he says my son let him into our house at that date. My son was gone to a barrel race with me.
I never said that.
Listen to me. Let's get over it. When was the last contact your daughter had with him?
The day that he took me up into
He
the
kidnapped
mountains
her.
when we had gone.
Give me the date.
It was before I had gotten the speaker equipment. And he had given me the speaker equipment as...
That's a witness.
Give me the date.
It's September.
September of '02.
About there, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So the last
That's after I gave you the. That's after I said I gave it to her in August.
It was August or September.
I'm asking you
now
a
you're
question. The last contact you had with him was in September of
No, ma'am.
2002?
August.
Except for when he
Except for
came
his
to our
grandmother.
house.
When was that?
He came in February to...
February of '03.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
went to her house.
Shh. Hey,
He came in February of '03.
since then, has he contacted you?
He calls and hangs up.
You can't prove that.
Caller ID.
Then I think that you should file a police report.
They told me to at our local county.
Well,
They
then that's
wanted
what
me
you ought to do.
throw him
File
in
a police
jail.
report because that's aggravated harassment
Yes,
if he's
ma'am.
doing it. You have him arrested for that. Good.
Yes,
That's what
ma'am.
you ought to do. But other than that, he hasn't come around. Is that right? Since February?
No, ma'am,
Good.
until we got
Perfect.
this notice.
Perfect. Mr. Hinton, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Have you ever been incarcerated?
No.
Would you like to be incarcerated?
No.
There is a strong possibility, that if you don't leave these people alone, you're going to find yourself incarcerated. Now, I know that 19 sounds like, you still got years to go before you develop. But in the eyes of the law, you're a grown-up. And this kind of kid stuff is not kid stuff anymore. Calling, hanging up, having somebody else call, hang up, sending stupid emails that may not be threatening, but just put your hand down, madam. It's all stupid because it can get you into trouble. It's over with Sammy Joe. The love affair is over. She doesn't want to have any part of you anymore. The only part that she wants to have of you is the stereo equipment that you let her borrow until her mother got her new stuff. By the way, did you ever get her new stereo equipment?
No, ma'am.
Well, then the eventuality, even if she could make a contract, never came to pass. So I'm going to suggest that you devote your time to going to school, maybe take a business course in contracts. But leave her alone. Now, Semi,
Yes.
sometimes young girls, even though they don't want to have anything to do with exes anymore, like to feel as if they still have their attention. That better not be so in this case, because if you write him, call him, contact him, tell a friend you'd like to see him, whatever it is, it's not very smart. You let Mr. Hinton and his hormones grow up. You got it? Now, it's been many months since there has been contact between the two of you. The longer that goes, the better off you both are. So you have February, March, April, May, June, July. Months. It's over. You have a new girlfriend?
No.
Listen, Mr. Hinton,
What?
find one. What are you doing with your life?
Nothing.
You go to school
Yes, Your Honor.
5 days a week?
2.
For what?
Medical school.
You go to medical school 2 days a week? In what country? I want to stay away from that country. What kind of medical school do you go to 2 days a week, sir?
TVI.
What are they teaching you to do?
Be a radiology technician.
That's good. That's not medical school, by the way. You're learning to be a radiology technician. Why only 2 days a week?
That's full time.
Do you live at home?
Yes.
Why aren't you working?
I haven't found a job.
What?
I haven't found a job.
How hard are you looking?
Not really hard.
You still in school?
I just graduated.
And what are you doing?
I start college in Las Cruces in August.
Good. Say goodbye to each other. Hopefully you're not going to see each other again. Right? Good. Don't email them. Don't call them. Don't contact them. Sir, forget her number. You got it?
It's already forgotten, Your Honor.
Good. And if you're smart, you change your number. You don't want him to call. Change your number. You run a business out of the house?
No, ma'am.
Good. Change your number. Bye.
Your Honor, case number 150 on the calendar in the matter of Langley versus Panuti. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Langley, is this your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Panuti is the girlfriend of your husband's younger brother, and it is your claim that Miss Panuti assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Panuti said quite the contrary. It was you who assaulted her, and she is counterclaiming
Yes, ma'am.
for the same thing. So I'd like you to tell me when this happened, where it happened, and eventually I'm going to try to figure out why this happened. So I know who most of the players are. Husband of plaintiff, boyfriend of defendant, and who are you?
I'm the mother of Christy, Your Honor.
You're her
Christy's
mother.
mother. Yes.
Okay, good. Go.
Okay, Your Honor. My husband and I have been together for 16 years. And that would have made John 3 years old when I met my husband. We've had a long history with John. He used to come spend the night.
That's John.
John, yes. Him and his other older brother used to come spend the night at our house all the time. He's a high school dropout. During the time that he knew Christy, he was in alternative school. He dropped out. He doesn't have a steady job. He has stole money from his parents to have a supposed abortion for Christy.
I don't want to go into that history. Do you understand?
Well, that's what brings it all to this point today.
All right, well, just let's get there.
Okay. The last of March, 1st of April, my father-in-law kicked John out of the house due to the fact that him and Christy got in a big fight, a brawl in their house, ripped phone cords out of the wall, knocked holes in the wall, and turned furniture over. We also found...
Just a second.
We also found...
Shh, I'm speaking. You have to stop when I'm speaking. Did you have some sort of an argument with your boyfriend?
No, sir.
It's very easy
No,
to
ma'am.
find out. All I have to do is pick up the phone.
No, ma'am.
Really?
That day,
Any day?
Yes, we've had arguments, Your Honor.
Within a week's period of time, was there a fight?
An argument, yes, ma'am.
Ah, okay. Go ahead.
There was holes knocked in the wall.
Did you see that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Your Honor, she was not there that day.
What day?
The day that me and my boyfriend got in an argument.
I thought you said there wasn't that kind of a fight, that we just got into an argument.
We did just get into an argument. She was not there. There was no holes in the wall.
She didn't say she was there that day, Miss Panuti.
Okay.
I said, did she see the holes in the wall?
Okay.
You could see that later.
Yes, ma'am.
So don't speak until I speak to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So they had a big argument, and what happened as a result of the argument, Miss Langley?
My husband had to go over there and repair the walls because John or Christy would not.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
During that time, my husband called over to his parents' house looking for his brother. Can I let him speak
Sure.
as far as that
Step
goes?
Up. Around that time, sir, the end of March, the beginning of April.
I called over to the house.
Which house?
My parents' house.
Is that where John was living?
In and out. I mean, my father's been trying to kick him out for almost a year now, but he won't leave. I mean, I was extremely mad. I heard her in the background. Then I blew up. I thought he better get her out of the house before I get there.
What did you hear her say?
I didn't know who I was messing with, that she was going to kick my...
Your Honor, that's
kick her.
a lie.
Did you understand what I said to you before?
Yes, ma'am.
What did I say to you before?
Don't speak unless spoken to.
Right. Didn't your mother teach you that?
Yes, ma'am.
Evidently, you didn't learn it too well. Go ahead.
So anyway, she was, I didn't know who I was messing with. She was going to, beat everybody up. And I hung the phone up, got in my truck, and I went to my parents' house. They'd both left because he knew I meant business when I was coming over there. They were both.
They left.
Yeah, they left.
Okay. What happened next?
At that time, John left, and he did stay gone for probably 3 weeks. Okay, when he came back on April 17th, him and his father got in an argument again. The police were called. He was told to leave. The father didn't want him there. His mother got upset, didn't want him to leave in that manner.
So the father said, get out, and your mother said you could stay?
Well, actually, my mom told my father to leave because he came home about 11:30 that night drunk. And we sat down
I'm talking about you, not your father.
My dad wanted me to leave, but my mom wanted me to stay.
That's what I just said.
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. So if your father wanted you to leave, why didn't you leave?
Because my mom wanted me to stay. I had come home about 9:30 that night, my mom was in bed, and I just went in my room, laid down. My dad came home around 11:30.
Just a minute, what were you doing home? You left and then you just showed up again?
Well, my mom had left out of town on a cruise, and me and my dad, we've never really gotten along.
Well, evidently they didn't want you in the house and they didn't want your girlfriend in the house. Your brother says you didn't help patch up the holes in the walls that you put in the walls along with your girlfriend. Why did you help patch up the holes in the walls?
Well, the holes that he's talking about, there's one in the hallway across.
I don't care where they are. Why?
There's
Didn't
really-
you fix up the mess? There's no reason.
Yes, ma'am.
You can say there's no reason. If there's no reason, then your father has good reason to say to you, I don't want you in the house. You or your girlfriend. Go find a job.
I have a steady job. I've had a steady job for 8, 9 months now.
Wonderful. If you have a steady job, then go find a place to live so that you're not causing friction between your mother and your father. If you're working, get out. Parents raised you, they supported you, they took care of you. Now it's time to get out and fly on your own. They don't have to be there involved in domestic violence between you and Miss Big Mouth over here. All right. So they came back on April 17th. Father-in-law said, I want him out. Mother said, let him stay, he's my baby. Somehow you got involved with this. You want to tell me how that happened?
Yes, ma'am. My father-in-law, after he wanted my husband to come over that night to help get John to leave, I guess, you know, between him and his wife, they decided we're not going to deal with it tonight. He said, y'all wait and come by in the morning. I have a statement. He has health issues.
I believe that he called you and said, two of you come over and see if you can talk to him.
Because I love John.
Okay, so you went over there the next day without your husband. Don't get upset now. You're holding it together really well. Take a deep breath. Good girl.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just because you can look like that to your mother, I want to tell you something. It doesn't cut anything with me. Your mother thinks of you as her baby. I do not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Luann Langley says her brother-in-law's fiancée, Christy Panuti, fractured her nose during a fight. Christy says Luann punched her first.
So you went over there?
On my way to work. He had left the back door open for us. My father-in-law had.
That's a lie. That is a lie. Because before I left, my mom, may I speak? I'm sorry. Before I had left, I'm used to them coming up. I've gotten out of the shower in the morning, she's sitting on the couch watching TV eating her lunch.
Listen to me. There is no question in my mind that your father asked them to come over to talk to you about getting out. And if I called him and asked him, he would tell me that he did. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
I went in the back door. I went to his bedroom. I banged on the door and told him to get up and come out and talk to me. He started cussing the moment from his bedroom, coming out and started shoving me back down the hallway, telling me that I better get out of there, that I wasn't supposed to be there, and he was going to call the police. He went to the kitchen and picked up the phone and would dial the 911.
All right, you got angry and you pulled out the phone. I got it.
Okay. During all this, after he had gone back to his parents' bedroom, the same thing happened back there. He ran outside. I went and stood by the garage door and was watching him. At that time, I had no idea that Christy was there because, to my idea, she had been told repeatedly she was not welcome there. John sneaks her into his bedroom at night after his parents have gone to sleep.
Sounds right.
Through his front window. They sleep all day while his parents are gone to work, having to work to pay his tickets, his lawyer fees. I have both of their criminal records here.
So you had no idea she was there?
I had no idea she was there. At that moment, she came out of his bedroom cussing and yelling at me that I better get the f out of there, that she was going to kick my fat white. I started walking towards her and told her, no, you're the one that needs to get out of here. You've been told by the police and by my in-laws that you're not supposed to be here. That's when she sucker punched me on the left side of my face and fractured my nose and caused me to have to go have a surgical procedure done to straighten my nose.
Good. Stop. Now, you had come home after being gone for 3 weeks, according to your sister-in-law. You weren't with Christy, were you, when you were away?
I went and got her the next morning.
Oh, okay.
On the way to work. I went and got her because she was staying at a friend's house up the road. I brought her back.
I don't believe you! Do you understand me? You may get your mother to believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe that bright and early in the morning you had already gotten out of bed to go and get her at a friend's house. I believe that she slept there all night.
She did not.
Your Honor, he came and got me at 7:30 in the morning because my car was broken down and I needed a ride to work.
Then what were you doing in his bedroom?
I was getting ready for work, Your Honor.
You just told me your car broke down. You needed a ride to work.
My car was in the shop, Your Honor, and that's why he came to pick me up from a friend's house, because I needed a ride to work, Your Honor.
I still don't understand why you're in his bedroom.
Because
you get ready to go to work. You say, come and pick me up to go to work. He takes you to work. What are you doing in the bedroom?
He asked me to go back to his house so he could finish getting ready for work.
You're a liar. You're a liar. Make sure that you understand that what you say to me makes sense. You see, if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Do you understand that, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Just because you can look like that to your mother, I want to tell you something. It doesn't cut anything with me. Your mother thinks of you as her baby. I do not. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So your sister-in-law came and she banged on the door.
She gained entry through the garage, for one, because
I don't care how she gave.
Okay.
You don't belong there. Your father, who pays the bills, told you to leave.
Who also came home drunk the night before.
That's not your business. That's not your business. Your business is to be out living on your own. Your business is not to be in the house creating problems between your parents. I believe that she got in as an invited guest of the owner of the house. That ain't you. So now she's in, banging at the door. I'm telling you to get out of bed and open the door.
Well, actually, she banged on the door, and I opened the door, and she grabbed me by my shirt here, pulled me out into the hall, started yelling at me, you need to get the F out, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you know, took her hand off me. I was like, I'm calling the police. I went to the kitchen, picked up the phone, dialed 911. She pulled the phone out of the wall. I went to the computer line in our den, picked it up, dialed 911. She grabbed it and ripped it completely out of the wall. So I run back to my mom's room, pick up the phone, do the same thing, 911. She was back there right behind me on my heels, pulls it out the wall. We go back out into the living room. We're having a verbal confrontation. That's when Christy steps out of the room. She's like, Luann, you need to please leave. Luann
Just a
runs past
minute.
me.
Are you telling me that Miss Potty Mouth over here says you have to please leave? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am. Because we're sitting here fighting in the room.
Okay. So Chrissy came out and said, Luann, you have to please leave. Just a minute. Please continue.
Okay,
Please
she was
continue.
like, you need to please leave. Luann ran past me back down the hall where Christy was standing and knocked her on the ground.
And I told her I was pregnant, Your Honor, before she assaulted me and knocked me down on my stomach when I'm pregnant. I'm 5 months pregnant.
We have proof of pregnancy right here.
I told her that I was pregnant, Your Honor, and she pulled me down and started hitting me in my head, Your Honor, and pulling my hair, and I tried to get her off of me, Your Honor. She got off of me, and I went to the kitchen, and she knocked me into the karaoke cabinet, broke all of John's mom's things, and bit me. I have proof of pictures right here that she bit me and assaulted me, Your Honor.
Please continue.
She's been harassing me.
They've been harassing us for over a year.
She took this
picture. He came to take me to probation one morning, took this off our kitchen counter.
He take you where?
To probation. I was on 6 months probation.
For what?
It was
drugs, Your Honor.
Possession of a dangerous drug, but I've passed every UA and I've done everything that I've...
Just answer my questions.
I'm sorry. Possession of dangerous drugs.
What kind of drugs?
It was...
Cocaine.
No, it was not cocaine.
Dangerous drug.
I didn't speak to you.
I'm sorry.
What happened was back in I believe...
What kind of drugs?
It was something for seizures that some friend had given me 4 months prior, and I had it in my wallet. But I do not do that. I've never done that.
Well, maybe.
Well, you see, Your Honor, they've taken the doorknob off my bedroom door so I can't lock my door. They're in my room, taking my possessions, like they took this picture,
and
scribbled her face out,
and put it in my mailbox, Your Honor.
Put it in her mailbox.
Are you still pregnant, by the way?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
She's 5 months
how
pregnant.
wonderful. How wonderful. I'm sure your mother is absolutely delighted. Isn't that right?
Actually, Your Honor, I am. I'm very proud of her. She's done very well.
She has, really?
Yes, she
Can
has
I see
been
her
doing
arrest
very well.
record?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
She's been charged with
I didn't speak.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, you
I
tried
didn't
to bomb
speak.
my building at work, lady?
These are the
Ma'am, she was arrested that day for disrupting a 911 call.
No, ma'am, I was
didn't
not
speak
arrested.
to you. I didn't speak to anybody. I said I want to see her arrest record. Do you have it or not?
Yes, ma'am. Here's the arrest record right here.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. I just want to see what Mom's proud of.
I'm proud of her that she's a changed person, Your Honor. She's done things wrong. She was young and stupid, and she knows that.
You mean
but at least she's not 42 and still stupid.
You mean getting pregnant without being married and having no future and not having a job? Engaged is not married.
No, ma'am, I'm not proud of that.
Okay.
I do
Well, I
believe
just
in
asked
marriage.
you. Well, we have one prior assault. She pled guilty to a misdemeanor.
And she's been arrested for assault, too, Your Honor.
No, ma'am, I have not.
I didn't ask you anything. You see, when you speak out like this, the statement that old John here makes, that you came out into the living room and said, Luann, You better get out of here and stop that. You see why that is really hard for me to come to terms with? Who's Candace?
A young lady that me and a couple other girls got into a confrontation with, Your Honor. But what does that have to do with this case, Your Honor?
No, it has nothing to do with the case until your mother brought up the fact that she's real proud of you. I want to see what you've done to make her so proud. Then you had delivery of a controlled substance. What's that?
That's dismissed, Your Honor.
That was cocaine. Then we have January of 2003. You pled guilty to something, and your probation was revoked, and you were put in jail for 30 days.
No, ma'am, I was not. I had to do work release for 15 days.
What were you found guilty of?
Because I didn't complete my community service.
And that was for possession of marijuana?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Were you there?
The day of incident?
Yes.
No, but I can tell you what she's done prior to.
And there's a picture.
And even since when
she's
she's
harassed me, Your Honor.
Listen to me. If she doesn't,
on a certified letter.
If she's not quiet, then we have to put her out.
I heard you.
Good.
Your Honor, may I say something?
No.
But they've been harassing us, too. We have proof they've been harassing us. She wrote you on the count.
Listen to me.
On the certified
Listen to
letter
me.
we sent to file the counterclaim.
Listen to me.
This is bull. It is.
John, get a life of your own.
I wish they
get a
would. They
line.
take my doorknob off my door. They go through my personal possessions. What right do they have?
Not his door.
Just a sec. What?
It's my parents' door. It's not his door.
Just a second.
But what
He
right do you have to
doesn't-
take
he
my
doesn't-
doorknob to your house, then Mom has to go get it 2 months later? What right do you have, Joseph?
John, if you live on your own and take care of yourself, then you have rights. Do you want to know what I would tell my children if they lived in my house? I own the air you breathe. You have no rights in my house. You don't have the right even to be here if you're over 18. You live here and you stay here at my will. You work, you're a big enough man to have made a baby, then be a big enough man to live on your own, to take care of your responsibilities, to support your responsibilities, and not to be a drain on your family.
I'm not a drain. I buy
You
my
are
own food. I buy my own food at my parents' house. I don't eat their food, I swear. All I do is stay there.
Stand up, sir. I understand that you have a problem. If he's still staying at your parents' house, you probably still have a problem. Mother probably feels a little guilty. Father says, I can't take him anymore. I can't look at him. I can't take him. I could understand that. Because he thinks because he buys his own food, then he's supporting himself. He's not supporting him. I'm speaking. He's not supporting himself because when you support yourself, you pay rent, you pay gas, electric, cable. You buy your own food, you have your own health insurance, you don't make a baby until you can afford it. You certainly don't make a baby while you're living in your parents' house. But I'm going to suggest to you that your peace depends upon you staying out of it. Your parents are not old and senile. They're probably young-ish.
60.
That's young, sweetheart. That's young. They can take care of themselves. Butt out. If they get fed up enough, they're going to put them both out. And it's not up to you anymore. Plaintiff is suing for $1,500 for her injury and for pain and suffering. She's entitled to that judgment. For the plaintiff, your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 130 on the calendar in the matter of Berry versus Garrett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
All right, reading your complaint, Miss Berry, is like reading one of those little mini novels. Let me see if I can explain to my friend Bird over here what I think happened. You and Mr. Garrett were involved as boyfriend and girlfriend for a period of time. Then you broke up. After you broke up, you continued to have some contact with him. So far, am I correct?
Yes.
Where were you living?
In Las Vegas.
And where was he living?
Studio City, California.
And while you were dating, you would go to him for a weekend, he would come to you for a weekend, but after you broke up, on Valentine's Day, you decided to go to visit him.
Correct.
Did you call him first?
Yes.
What did you say to him when you said, oh, it's Valentine's Day, I want to come and see you?
It wasn't so much of an issue as it being Valentine's Day. It was just the weekend, and I called him and told him I was on my way out there.
And what did he say?
At first, we were not getting along very well, so at first he was kind of like, no. But then as the week went on, he was like, go ahead and come out here. And then I called him and told him my friend was going to come with us, and that's when he was like, no, she doesn't need to come. But, I told her that's fine. She can come. And
just a second. So first he said, don't come. And then you called again, and you schmoozed him again, and he finally said, okay, you can come.
Right.
And then you said, I'm on my way, I'm coming with a girlfriend. Right?
Yes, yeah.
And he was annoyed.
Right.
So you get to his house, and there's a bit of a disagreement, because according to his answer, you were on the phone when he came home from work or something, and you were on the phone with a fella, right?
Right.
And he was annoyed. You were annoyed.
Correct.
Because you felt as if she was sort of using you.
Correct.
He didn't write that in here, but I sort of pieced that together.
Okay.
This is all leading up to what this lawsuit is about, but you understand, Bird, that I'm just getting you there.
So far, I'm following you.
So far, you're following. So, they're not really in a relationship, but sometimes maybe. She gives him a tease. She says, I want to come out. He said, no, yeah, please, let me come out. Okay, I'm on my way, and I'm with my friend. What's her name?
Argina.
Argina. Who's Argina? What do I need an Argina here for on Valentine's Day weekend, right? You and I are going to cozy up on Valentine's Day. Who needs Argina? Comes with Argina. He's really annoyed. He leaves, comes home. Not only does he come home, he finds her on the telephone talking, schmoozing it up with a guy. He is really annoyed. And you broke her...
Cell phone.
Right. So that's item numero uno.
Right.
Broken cell phone. How much is the cell phone?
I had insurance on it, so it was only $35. I had to pay this Sprint $35 insurance.
Great. $35 on the plaintiff's side. Then, after he broke the cell phone, the two of you got into sort of a shouting match, and you and your friend, Argina, took off. According to your complaint, you took off, and you also took the house keys.
Right.
You say that he went and followed you and was chasing you all over the place.
He was.
Backed into your car, causing damage to your car, and you want him to pay for the damage that he caused to your car. That's what your lawsuit is. Cell phone, damage to your car. Mr. Garrett says that after you had this argument and he was so furious that he broke your cell phone and you took off, it was very late at night, right?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Garrett says after you left, he got hungry. Right, Mr. Garrett?
Yep.
So you went out in search of food. You were foraging for food.
Well, it was around 11 o'clock. Everything happened at 1, but yeah, around 11 o'clock. I just got home, remember. Go ahead.
And serendipitously, you found her.
Yep.
Pick it up from there, Mr. Garrett.
All right. I can pick it up from there, although some of the things that were said weren't totally true, but I'll pick it up from there. Okay, so I'm driving down the street. I see her crossing the intersection. I'm looking at her. I want my keys. She's not giving me my keys.
She's crossing the intersection. She's in her car, you're in yours. How do you convey to her, Mr. Garrett, that you want your keys?
I just looked at her, and she looked at me, and she laughed and peeled out.
So that's how you conveyed to her that you want my keys.
Well, I think she knows I want my keys.
Shh, don't tell me what you think she knows.
Okay.
So you conveyed nothing to her. So she's peeling out, and what did you do?
Followed her.
You chased her.
Yes. Well, in the beginning, I followed her because it seemed to me that she was going to my house because the street that she turned off of was heading back to my house. So,
so at the beginning you were following. When did it turn into a chase, Mr. Garrett?
When she didn't turn on my street.
And then what happened? So then you knew she wasn't coming back to your house.
When she didn't turn on my street and got to the light, I stopped at my street. She went all the way to the end and quickly hit the corner. So I sped up to the corner and I saw her at the other corner. And
why?
Because she had my only set of keys to my other car and my house.
So you're chasing her at this point, instead of going back to your house and calling 911 and or going to the local precinct and saying, listen, this woman took my keys. She has my only set of keys with her. I know she's going to be back because she's got stuff in my house, and I don't want to be there to be any problem.
She didn't have any. She took all her things with her, so I figured she was gone. And when I noticed that my keys were gone, I left the house.
I didn't take all my stuff with me because we went back the next day.
So you were chasing her, and you were both traveling pretty quickly. And then what happened, Mr. Garrett?
Well, when the chase ended, I got out the car. I told her to give me my keys. She said, no, I'm not going to give you your keys. I'll go to your house. Let's just go to your house because you're not going to let me in type thing. So we proceeded to go to my house. Once again, she did not turn on my street. She headed for the freeway. She headed for the freeway. So I sped up in front of her and stopped at the freeway entrance. I wasn't going to get on the freeway. I just stopped there. She backed up, and where she backed up is at a park. She backed up, I backed up.
And that's how you both dented your cars?
I believe.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's how you both dented your cars?
Well, that's how he backed into my car, and so I turned to try to get away from him. He backed up again, and that's how...
What were you doing with his keys?
We took them so we could get back in.
You took them?
Yeah, I took them.
He didn't give them to you. You took them.
No. He was in the room with the door locked with all the house phones and everything. He
I don't care.
locked them in the room, so...
I don't care.
We left.
Shh. You stole his keys.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Doesn't have a lot of friends.
I don't need a lot of friends.
Just checking your, your directory. You only know 4 people.
Yeah, I know.
And later today...
You also play a werewolf?
Correct.
You weren't going to see a performance of Snow White.
No, Your Honor.
You were going to the haunted house because you wanted to be...
Scared.
And you were...
Scared.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Natasha Berry says ex-boyfriend Patrick Garrick broke her cell phone and rammed her car in a fit of rage. Patrick says Natasha took advantage of him.
So, did you also key his car?
No, I did not do that.
You say that you keyed your car. What proof do you have that, other than this damage, these 2 smashed cars that I now have, which comes to me, as far as I'm concerned, under the category of both of you deserved it. You stole his keys. You wanted to get him back. You both acted inappropriately. You could have just as easily have gone to the police station and say, I have this nut following me. You know, I want to give him back his keys. I don't want him to follow me anymore, and I just want to go get my stuff. Instead, you were playing with each other. So the only thing you're lucky about is that nobody else got hurt with regard to your antics. So you can both pretty much fix your own cars. Now, you want to show me, prove to me that she keyed your car?
Well, the car wasn't keyed before she came to my house. And after this incident happened, the car's keyed. That's the only proof I have besides showing you pictures of the keyed car.
Can I see the pictures, just for my own information?
Well, I have it in my phone. Is that?
I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's your phone and your ear. I don't care where it is. Just let me see the picture of the keyed car.
You can just thumb through it, but that's one scratch.
Press that button and that advances it.
Doesn't have a lot of friends.
I don't need a lot of friends.
Just checking your, your directory. You only know 4 people.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Garrett.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me, sir. In all likelihood, Miss Berry did, in fact, key your car. Unfortunately, the fact that she may have had a motive to do that and an opportunity to do it isn't enough in a court. Now, I have to think about what to do to the 2 of you who could have killed somebody, and you're driving around that February 14th weekend because you were both acting foolish. I wish there was something I could do to you and for you. There isn't, unfortunately. The only thing I can do to you is say, you will fix your own car because you acted like a fool, and you will fix your own car because you acted like a fool. Does that sound fair?
That's what I said.
Perfect. Goodbye. Oh, and $35 for her. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She wasn't my girlfriend. I didn't invite her down. She just showed up at the crib, so...
He didn't want us to leave. He didn't want me to leave. He didn't want me bringing someone else with me.
It wasn't working, and I believe she's just was jealous.
1-year-old Justin Sadler for crashing her car. Justin says he was borrowing the car in order to do Kira a favor.
Miss Petherick, what kind of car did you have?
A 2007 Saturn Vue.
Did you buy it, lease it?
We bought it.
In whose name is it?
It's in my dad's name.
So you don't own it?
No.
So it's in your father's name, but you drive it?
Yes.
And is it paid for?
Yes.
And you have insurance?
Yes.
You loaned the defendant your car. He had an accident. Why didn't you use your insurance?
My deductible is $1,000. I was hit by a driver last year, so it's $1,000, and the claim was only $744.
Show me the policy. When was the last time you drove the car?
On my way to the airport yesterday.
So it's drivable?
Yes.
What's wrong with the car?
I got it fixed, actually, after it was crashed. The wheel rod, the tire was not centered, and it was supposed to be centered in the wheel well.
Okay, sir. Ball's in your court.
Okay, on December 6th of 2009, I invited Kira and some friends out to my house to avoid some negative rumors that were associated.
I don't care.
Okay.
Just get to it.
Well, the incident was I went out to grab food for a group of my friends as well as Kira, and then I came back without incident, but the roads were getting worse and worse. And Kira asked me to drive some friends home of hers, and me, of course, me being the guy who I am, I think Ms. Petherick failed to tell you why her deductible is $1,000. And she was involved in a DUI. And I believe it's to my belief and my knowledge that she was drinking that night.
I don't care, sir. What difference does that make? If the roads were bad, why did you take the car out?
Well, so me being the guy that I am.
I don't care what kind of a guy you are. Why did you take the car out if the roads were bad?
I took her car out to drive her friends back to the school.
What kind of bad roads? Snow? Ice?
No, it was black ice, and my parents.
Black ice?
Yeah.
When did you notice that there was black ice on the road? When you were coming back from getting the food?
Well, this was after I dropped the friends off and I began to come back into my house. Like, it's a privately paved driveway or road. And when I was going to turn, I was going no more than 12, no less than 10. And the car kind of slid off and it bumped the tree to my knowledge. So
what do you mean to your knowledge? You were the only one in the car.
Well, continue with my point, Your Honor. I came back and told Ms. Petherick, and I told her exactly what had happened. And she told me, she was like, oh, don't worry about it, it will be fine. So the next day we get up, we're driving back to the school because she asked me to drive, which some way or shape or form indicates what kind of driver I am. We going on the way, and then I'm thinking there's snow under the wheel. So it wasn't snow. We found out that, in fact, there was a tree stub that pushed the wheel back, and that's how it got the actual incident. And then she told me that she'll cover it, her insurance to cover it, but she couldn't cover it because her deductible was $1,000 and it was only $748.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did your friends get there?
Oh, we drove them there.
Who's we?
Justin and I.
Who drove?
Justin, because he said that he could drive his driver.
No. Responsibility. Take responsibility.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
You let Justin drive your car to take your friends from school to his house?
Yes.
And he had, I assume, driven your car before?
Yes.
And he had not had an accident?
No.
What school do you go to?
Spring Arbor University.
And do you get weather forecasts there?
Yes.
And was the weather forecast for bad weather?
Yes.
Then why did you leave school?
The roads were not bad at the time that we left.
When did they start to get bad?
When we were at the house.
So why didn't your friends stay over?
I don't know. I don't
know either.
They asked Justin, they're his friends too, so I was kind of sleeping, and he said, they want to go back, and I said, well, you can take them back, I'm sleeping.
Good, pay for your own car. He's driving your car with your permission. He was taking your friends back to school. Friends could have stayed over in bad weather. You have to have some responsibility. He wasn't driving, according to any information that you have, he wasn't driving negligently.
Yes, he was. I have a witness statement from people who actually were in the car when he did crash it. He crashed it on the way to school.
I don't take statements of witnesses.
Okay.
I'll hear a witness if you have a witness. Were you in the car?
No, I was not.
Then why are you here?
Because Justin told Kira that he would pay for it, and...
Your Honor, that's a lie.
Shh, just a second. Just a second. Do you go to school with her?
Yes.
Do the other people in the car go to school?
Yes.
Good. And she should have brought somebody who was in the car with him, not you.
Your Honor?
I don't want to hear anything else. When you loan somebody your car, especially if they're doing something for you, which is returning your schoolmates to school, you should have said, you can't take my car, the roads are bad. Right?
Yes.
Good. Pay for the car yourself. Goodbye.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, Steen Leonzel is suing former friend Joshua Cole for stealing her car and crashing it. Joshua claims Christine loaned him the vehicle to make a drug run.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 47 on the calendar in the matter of Leonzo versus Cole.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Why don't you folks have a seat?
Miss Leonzo, how long have you known the defendant?
I've known Josh now for about 2 years.
How have you known him?
He is a friend, or was a friend. He's a friend of my boyfriend's. That's how I met him.
And I assume that the person over here is the boyfriend?
Correct.
Do you live together?
Yes, we do.
Where?
In our house in Anoka.
Who else lives there?
My 6-year-old handicapped son.
And how long has he been your boyfriend?
For about 2 years.
What does he do for a living?
He's a machinist.
Does he work full-time?
Yes.
And what about you?
I am unemployed right now looking for work.
When was the last time you were employed full-time?
2008.
Who pays for the rent on your house?
My boyfriend, Cole.
Now, it is your claim that the defendant stole your car while he was visiting at your house and crashed it.
That's correct.
The defendant says that you were all high on controlled substances and he took the car with actually your permission and at your request to go and buy you drugs. That's what you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What kind of drugs do you use, Mr. Cole?
Meth.
For how long?
On and off for probably 15 years now.
And what about him? What does he use?
He uses meth too. That's how we met.
That's how you met?
Yep.
Where did you meet?
At a mutual using friend's place.
And what about the plaintiff?
Well, I met her through Cole, and first time I met her, that's what we were doing. We were using drugs. All three of us were using together.
Where was her son?
He wasn't there at the time when we first met. So, but yeah, he lives with her now, or still does.
How long has he lived with her?
The whole 2 years I've known him.
For the 2 years?
Yep.
But when you first met her, it was in a drug environment?
Yep, and he wasn't there.
Okay. When did you have this accident with the car?
October 21st.
Tell me what happened.
Well, I was over at Cole and Chrissy's place, and...
what time had you gotten there?
I say around noon. Cole had picked me up from my apartment.
Did you not drive?
No, he picked me up.
I mean, do you drive?
No, I don't have a driver's license.
Okay, so he picked you up. You got back to their house at noon.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And I'd been up all night on meth, and Cole and Chrissy wanted to get high, and...
Well, when you said Cole and Chrissy wanted to get high, tell me about the discussion that you had with them.
Well, they'd known I'd been up all night on drugs. The only time that we really ever hung out is when we all used together, and they were fiending to get high, you know, and they asked if I could get any more, and I said, yeah, but I didn't have a vehicle. So Chrissy gave me the permission to use her vehicle to get more drugs. She didn't have any gas in her car, so Cole gave me a stolen license plate to use for a gas and go. And when I was leaving the gas station, I got in a high-speed chase with the cops, which resulted in an accident. They caused me to crash into a guardrail. So I was arrested for felony fleeing, possession of drug paraphernalia, no license, and theft of gas.
Is that case still pending?
Nope, I've been sentenced. It's all done and over.
What's your sentence? I
did 210 days in Anoka County Jail. I was sentenced to treatment. I went to a 6-month treatment program at the Salvation Army in Minneapolis.
Residential?
Yep, inpatient, yep.
When did you get out?
I'm still in treatment now.
But when did you get out of the residential part of the program? Are you still living there?
No, I'm still living there.
How are you doing?
Very good. Yep, I brought with me my certificates for my progress in the program.
I'd like to see them. Would you return this to him, please?
Sure.
You think he's lying to me?
I know he's lying to you.
Go ahead.
First of all, Josh, the whole reason that...
No, don't speak to him.
Okay, first of all, the whole reason Josh had even asked to use her car is because I had worked all day. The fact that I picked him up at noon is not true. I had worked at a place at the time that had 12-hour days scheduled. I probably got to his place maybe about 5 p.m.
Did you know that the defendant was a drug abuser?
I knew that. We were not using drugs. Sorry.
Did you know the defendant was a drug abuser?
Yes, I did.
And you knew you didn't have a driver's license?
Yes, ma'am.
His whole story is a lie. I'm sorry.
Has your son always lived with you? Don't look down there. Look at me. Has your son always lived with you?
No, he has not.
Where had he lived prior to coming back to live with you?
His father.
Until when?
About 2 years ago, when I became sober.
Sober from what?
Using street drugs.
So this is what we're going to do. I assume you're going to tell me that the story he just told me was totally false.
That is correct.
And how much is it going to cost to get your car fixed?
The estimated value is approximately $5,300.
We check out the value of her car, please. What kind of car is it?
It's a 1998 Dodge Avenger Sport. Your Honor, can I say something, please?
Yes?
Josh did not come over that day when he took the vehicle to ask for us to go get drugs, because I've been sober for 2 years to get my son back. He had wanted to use the vehicle because he had just the day before stolen a bunch of merchandise from Walmart's store. He stolen a computer, some TVs, and some other merchandise, and he wanted to use the vehicle to go and sell the merchandise so that he could get money for his own drug habit.
I have a very easy solution for this case. Since Mr. Cole knows that he had no right to be driving a car, and you certainly understand that if I believe that either of you were using drugs, then I would have to credit his story. Your story is that he stole your car.
That's correct, and I have a police report proving that.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm going to make a judgment as soon as I get the results of hair follicle tests back on both of you. And you would agree to a hair follicle test, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Perfect.
And later today,
I think her only thing is they want to try to give me a heart attack so they can inherit my property. And that's a painful thing to come and reckon with.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Leonzo says former friend Joshua Cole stole her car and crashed it during a high-speed police chase.
You have a police report where he admits he stole the car?
No, where the detective is telling Josh that the vehicle comes back stolen.
That doesn't mean a thing. That doesn't mean a thing. Value?
$11.25.
That isn't correct. I have a printout of it right here with me, Your Honor.
That's...
Same company. This is from Kelly Blue Book.
What you got?
I have $2,300 because I have a lot of extras on it because it's a sport edition.
No. I don't care about your extras.
The estimated value?
It's right here.
I want to know what the Kelly Blue Book says. I have my own Kelly Blue Book.
Then you're looking up the wrong vehicle.
The largest price I find here is $16.75.
Okay.
She's got a 23 here.
I don't care about you. I don't care about this. But this is the story. $1,675 is what the top price is in there. And I'm going to make a judgment in your favor as soon as I get the results of hair follicle tests back on both of you.
Okay.
The check will be held. You will not get the money. And you would agree to a hair follicle test, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Perfect. That's my judgment. You get your money from him, which would totally disprove a statement because a hair follicle test is going to establish within the last 6 months whether you use any drugs.
Yeah.
Whether or not either one of you, because maybe not you, maybe just him, either one of you has used drugs in the last 6 months.
Perfect.
As soon as we get the negative results on those tests, you get your money. Fair?
Fair.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all.
Excuse, you may step out.
Using drugs ever since I've known her. It's been 2 years now.
We used to use recreational drugs and we don't any longer.
Results come back.
Oh, absolutely come back clean.
It'll show that they're using.
Not worried about it at all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Shepard versus Swanigan. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Christelle Shepard is suing her grandfather, Donald Swanigan, for having her car illegally towed. Donald says Christelle abandoned the car on his property.
How old are you, Miss Shepard?
I'm 23.
This is your grandfather. Your complaint alleges that he got rid of or stole a car that you had left parked in his house.
Yes, ma'am.
He has a counterclaim for some money that you owe him. Let's go back.
Okay.
You had a car. What kind of car?
I had a 1991 Honda Accord. It was black.
1991. So you had a 20-year-old car.
Mm-hmm.
And how did it get to your grandfather's house?
Well, I was supposed to be moving out of my apartment where I currently was staying, and the car wasn't running at the time. So it
was a non-running car?
Well, if I go back a little bit farther, my friend hit my car in October. When she hit my...
Was the car running or not running?
It could run, yeah, but
it wasn't running?
But it wasn't running.
All right, so it wasn't running. So when did you call your grandfather and ask to store the car at his house?
Well, actually, I called my mother first. I asked my mom, could she keep it at her house? She didn't have enough yard space because of everything at her house.
Whatever. When did you call your grandfather and ask if you could...
Like December, 15th.
No.
But I didn't call him. Is what I'm saying. I asked my mother around December 15th if I could keep the car at her house. My mom must have then had spoken with my grandfather and mentioned it to him.
Just a second. Did you ever speak to your grandfather?
Yes, I spoke to him
what
after
date?
I moved it there.
On what date?
I spoke to him on the 15th, later on that date after my mother spoke to him.
12/15. You spoke to your grandfather, and what did you say to him?
I said, hello, Grandpa. Mommy called me. She said that you offered that I could keep the car at the house, because at first I was going to move it to my friend's house, and I was going to pay to keep it there for a month until I moved into my apartment. He said, I would rather you bring the car over to my house.
So you told your grandfather that you were going to keep the car there. Just a second. You told your grandfather you were going to keep the car there for a month until you moved into your apartment.
Yes.
Just a minute. That's what you just said. And on what date did you bring the car there?
Probably December 23rd, right before New Year's. I mean, Christmas Eve.
12/23. And when did you go to pick it up?
From his house. I was never able to pick it up because he got rid of it.
When?
He got rid of my car on March 11th.
Well, what happened to January?
I was supposed to move into my apartment on January 9th.
What happened in February?
February 9th, I finally moved into the apartment.
Well, then it was another month before you called about your car.
But I came over there, Judge. My apartment wasn't ready January 9th. My grandfather was informed of that. I came over to the house.
No, not informed of that. Who told him?
I did.
And what did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
I said, Grandpa, my apartment's not ready. It won't be ready till they say in February, because I guess they was having a problem with the heating or the boiler, like something. I had a gas
So
in my apartment.
they said it wouldn't be ready till February.
February 9th.
And what did your grandfather say?
He said, okay, Cristal, you can keep it here as long as you want. I'm your grandpa. I'm just going to help you until you can move the car.
When did you contact him again?
Once I moved in February 9th, I came over to my grandpa's house, I think February 14th. I told him, I said, Grandpa, I just moved into the apartment, paid everything. I'll be getting my car. He said, okay, don't worry about it. I said, my next payday, I'm going to get the car and move it over. I mentioned to him that I got thrown behind because the apartment wasn't ready when it was supposed to be ready.
Let me hear you, please.
Your Honor, none of what she's saying is true. It has a portion of the truth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When I stopped driving it and it got hit, I stopped paying for the car.
Give me a break. So when you stopped driving the car, you stopped paying off the loan? Is that, just a second, is that what you're telling me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christelle Shepard says her grandfather, Donald Swanigan, had her Honda Accord illegally towed from his property. Donald is countersuing for unpaid rent on an apartment in his name.
Go ahead.
Christelle brought the car over late September, early October. And the reason why she brought it to my house is because at her apartment, they was getting on her about this eyesore that was there. So I said, okay, it's okay to store it here for a few weeks. And that was that. Well, she got evicted from the Skane apartment. And meanwhile, simultaneously, while the car was there, she stored all of her furniture in my garage, so I couldn't use the garage. But that was okay to help her out. After the car had stayed there for several months, I called the police. It was parked in my front driveway, in front of my house.
And she hadn't used it?
No, it was inoperable. And she had recently had an accident with the car, and all the left bumper was hanging off of it. I mean, the car wasn't worth $500.
I don't care what it was worth. Right now, it's been in your house, let's say, since October.
Okay.
Keep going.
So I was getting really agitated about this eyesore being in front of my house, and I called the police department, and they said, Mr. Swanigan, you have the right to have this towed off of your property. And that's exactly what I did.
When did you have it towed off your property?
In early March.
When had you spoken to your granddaughter?
I think she came over in January. But prior to that, when she was in hard times, she would come over every day to eat breakfast and to eat her lunch, and that was okay. During the years, she and her mother has drained me of all of my savings. I think her only thing is they want to try to give me a heart attack so they can inherit my property. And that's a painful thing to come and reckon with.
So the car was at your house October, November, December, January, February, and the beginning of March.
Yes, Your Honor.
Inoperable.
Inoperable.
Okay.
An eyesore.
Okay, where did you get the car from, Miss Shepard?
Your Honor, can I go back to saying that's a lie? I have my surprise witness here that pushed the car over there in December, and I was driving my car in October. I also brought paperwork saying I had it registered, insured, and was driving it in October. My friend hit my car in October. I was doing child daycare at that time.
So if your friend hit your car in October, and is that when it became inoperable?
Yes.
Just answer my question. That's when it became inoperable.
Yep.
I got it. Where did you get the car from?
I got it from a place called Price Rights Autos.
When?
I got it 3/26/2009.
And how much did you pay for it?
At the time, the car was $2,845.79.
So you paid $2,800 for it, and then it died because it, well, it died. It wasn't operable October, November, December, January, and February, 5 months. So would you explain to me, Miss Shepard, why you're suing your grandfather for $3,300?
Okay, the car became inoperable, yes, in October.
No,
it
I
wasn't
asked you a question.
But because once the car was stolen, they gave me...
You paid $28,000 for it. Car decreases in value when you take it off the lot. Why are you suing your grandfather for more than what you paid for the car a year and a half ago?
The car, I never paid the car off in total. The car is from a tote-to-note place. I pay monthly payments on the car. The car had, when I first got it, had problems on it, and I got work added to the bill, like the distributor and everything like that. So the total now is $3-something because I was paying the car all the way up until October when it got hit. When I stopped driving it and it got hit, I stopped paying for the car.
Ah, give me a break. So when you stop, when you stopped driving the car, you stopped paying off the loan? Is that, just a second, is that what you're telling me?
I stopped paying the full total amount of the $120 a month.
Get out of here. Miss Shepard, I'm getting ready for your counterclaim.
Yes.
Which I assume you would never have brought if your granddaughter hadn't brought this ridiculous lawsuit.
No, I wouldn't have.
Of course not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When did you co-sign for a lease for her?
March of '09. I was coerced into this.
No, don't.
Okay.
Did he co-sign a lease for you, Miss Shepard?
Yes, ma'am, he did co-sign a lease for me.
Did you live by the terms of the lease?
Yes, I was living by the terms of the lease.
Did you, March of '09, March of '10, you paid all the rent?
I ended up moving out of the apartment.
That's not what I asked you. Did you pay your rent for the year?
No. I left out the apartment in January, but it was because I had the apartment. Yes, my grandfather had my brother staying with him. My grandfather kicked my brother out. I guess.
Listen to me. You're double-talking me. The question is, your grandfather co-signed the lease for you because you needed a co-signer. You didn't pay the rent. Mr. Swanigan, did you pay the rent on the apartment?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Fine. Did they have a judgment against you?
Yes, they do have a judgment against me.
She has a job. Why don't they go after her?
Your Honor, because I was the only one that appeared at the court date. I went to the court date. I informed my grandfather to go, and he said that he wasn't going to go. So I went to the court date.
And what happened?
Since I needed the co-signer there with me, they said, what do you want to do? I said, there was like choices. I said, I'll plead no contest to the situation and pay. But it's not back rent. It's because of the lease being broken.
Did you pay?
No. I went
Did you pay? You said, I plead no contest. So the answer is, did you pay?
No, she told me that I would be getting something in the mail. After I moved out in January, I came to the place with my mother and gave the lady the key and the information and all my new paperwork. To this day, they haven't sent me anything, but they told me that
grow up.
They would send me something in the mail.
Well, grow up. Why did you ask your grandfather to go with you?
Because they said that my grandfather needed to go because he was the co-signer.
Right, but right now he's stuck for $655. You owe him that.
Yes, the
judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim for $655. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I didn't believe it. May step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. 20-year-old Victoria Hannafin is suing her former friend, Nicholas Stanworth, for unpaid charges on a Best Buy credit card.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 116 on the calendar in the matter of Hannafin versus Stanworth.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Hannafin, it is your claim that the defendant, who's a friend of yours, owes you for some credit card charges he made. He says he paid you in cash. Do you want to explain to me what he was doing with your credit card?
Well, I met Mr. Stanworth in August of 2009. I had explained to Mr. Stanworth that I wanted to increase my credit score. Mr. Stanworth promised that he could help me do that by spending money on my credit card with my permission and paying me back, and he promised to pay every part of it back. What?
How? Check or cash?
He paid strictly in cash, no checks.
Okay, go ahead. So what did you do?
He paid me back, and I had began to get a little nervous because of the activities that he was involved in, illegal gambling.
What kind of activities, Ms. Hannafin?
Illegal gambling, drugs.
Why would you hang around with somebody who was involved in illegal activities?
I was very vulnerable at the time. I had just left a bad relationship, and he had kind of made me feel like he was my friend, and I didn't know what he was involved in until I began hanging out with him.
So why didn't you stop hanging out with him?
Because he owed me this money, and he had said that, you know, he wouldn't pay me back unless I was around, and he had made threats to me that he would, quote, burn me and bury me, and that he used to get off on killing people, that it, quote, gave him a when he would kill people. And I just felt scared for my life that I would be one of those people.
When did he say this to you?
He said this November 20th. I have a police report here.
When was the last time he made a charge on your credit card?
I believe early November. I'm not, let's see here, November 6th for Smith's Groceries.
And he had his own card?
Yeah, I had made him a user on my account.
What month did he get the card?
He got the card in August.
Did he pay September's bill?
Yes, he did make a payment.
Did he pay October's bill?
Yes, he continued to make bills.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Now, November 6th was his last charge.
Yes.
So what month does he owe on the credit card?
Well, he didn't pay the complete amount back. He would make payments each month.
He says he paid it.
I paid her everything in cash, everything in full. She had a boyfriend that was in prison at the time, and that's why we had like a sugar daddy type relationship where I knew her situation. She needed a little something while her boyfriend was locked up, and while he was locked up, I was there for her. But the closer the date got to her boyfriend being released in December, she just got weird. She got really, really weird, and the more I separated herself from.
What was he doing in jail, Miss Hannafin?
He had broken his probation.
She released in December?
Yes.
When you and Mr. Stanworth were friends, where were you living?
I was living in Taylorsville, Utah.
She was living with her ex-boyfriend.
No.
She had an ex-boyfriend. She was messing around with me. While she was messing around with me, she moved in with a friend.
No, listen to me. You're not following. You were committed on something. When you were friends,
yes,
who were you living with?
Zoe, a friend, and she lived in Taylorsville, Utah.
Up until when did you live with Zoe?
Up until November, and then I moved into my own apartment.
When you moved into your own apartment after December, who did you live with?
When I moved in originally in November, I had taken the place of a friend, and I lived with Kelly.
You said you were living alone, your own apartment in November. The boyfriend came out of jail in December.
Well, in living alone, I mean, I had a roommate. It was a 2-bedroom apartment that I moved into, and I occupied one of the rooms.
Where did the boyfriend go when he got out of prison?
He moved into Zoe's apartment and occupied the room that I used to have.
So you have or have not been living in the same complex as the old boyfriend?
No, I don't. I didn't ever live in the same complex as him. He wasn't my boyfriend. We were just friends. I would go and visit him every Tuesday, but he was just my friend.
Where would you visit him?
At the Davis County Jail.
How am I supposed to tell that Mr. Stanworth owes you money if he paid you in cash and you never gave him receipts?
I don't know. I mean, I would documented every payment that he's given me. He never wanted a receipt, and it was strictly in cash. I've never not made a payment with the cash that he's given me.
May I interject something? Our credit cards were linked. She was also spending money on those credit cards, and I never received an itemized statement of what was being paid. I always knew what I bought. I'm very good with money, and every time I bought something, I paid her in full for it, cash, to pay it right away. I'm not one to wait 30 days. You look on my current credit card statements, all my bills are paid in advance.
Why were you using her credit card, Mr.
She got a credit card in her name. I did promise her I'd help her with her credit. I did promise that.
Why were you using her credit card, Mr. Stanworth?
To help her build her credit. I had the cash. She was a friend. We became close.
Can I see the list of items on the credit card statement, please, Miss Hannafin?
There's 2 credit cards. There's a Best Buy account and a Bank of America account.
Did you pay the Best Buy account?
I don't know what the Best Buy is about. She was getting ready for her boyfriend to come out of prison. My understanding was a boyfriend.
Appliance?
The appliances were for Mr. Stanworth's home. He had purchased on my credit. What had happened is he said that, oh, this would help my credit score, and I believed him, and I shouldn't have, but I did, and he convinced me to open a credit card account with Best Buy, and we both applied on it. Unfortunately, Mr. Stanworth's credit was not well enough to get credit together, So I did it on my own, and he purchased a washer and dryer, a new refrigerator, and several TVs and direct TV boxes with that.
And where are those items now?
I'm not sure. They were taken to Mr. Stanworth's home. I never had possession of any of those items.
Is that true?
The only thing on that list, it was purchased with washer and dryer, and she was given cash for that.
But it was purchased for you.
It was purchased for the home because she was staying with me also. She forgot to mention that. And I do believe in one of the statements.
Who has the washer and dryer now?
I don't. It's gone.
Where is it?
I moved out of that place. I'm in a new house. It was left there.
Something's wrong with you.
No, nothing's wrong with me.
Oh, something's wrong with you. Unless you sold it to the new people who moved in.
No, I didn't sell it to the new
Why in the world would you buy something that's 6 months old and just leave it there if you paid for it? I don't believe that, Mr. Stanworth.
It is there until someone moves into the place, and then I will get the items.
What kind of double talk is that?
No, because I have a washer and dryer right now. It's on KSL, which is a site to sell it. Not double talk. I moved into a place that has a washer and dryer.
What is on the internet?
The washer and dryer is on the internet.
So you're selling it?
Yes, I am selling it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My problem is I believe her just slightly more than I believe you. I mean, I know you're a hustler.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't figure her out.
And later today.
Well, your friend Steve didn't want a drunk.
Well, we were all drunk.
Fighting. Listen, sometimes you get drunk and you just make a lot of love. Sometimes you get drunk and you make a lot of fighting.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Victoria Hannafin says former friend Nicholas Stanworth owes for unpaid credit card charges. Nicholas claims he paid Victoria back in cash.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Stanworth?
Consulting.
Consulting what?
I work for the Sundance Film Festival once a year. When the movies come up there, I set up events at the Sundance Film Festival for certain companies that come in. I present them marketing ideas if they want certain events such as poker parties.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Stanworth?
Consulting.
You're double-talking me.
That's consulting. That's what I do.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
And did you file a tax return this year?
Yes, I did.
How much did you earn?
$85,000.
Doing what?
I consult. These people here in L.A. pay very good money for setting up events. Indie Film Festival, I set up all their poker parties. I also did a celebrity poker tournament
Where
up
do
there.
you live here in L.A.?
I don't live here. I live in Salt Lake City.
And what you're telling me is you have clients here who paid you $85,000 to do consulting work for the Sundance Film Festival.
Yeah, but you put a lot of work in. You set up the events. The 2 years before that, I made $250,000.
What you're telling me is that you do that for a one-time event at the Sundance Film Festival.
It's a one-time event, and sometimes I get to go to the...
You know, I have trouble believing these stories that sound very bizarre to me.
Well, that's what I do, and I also, through there, you get other events such as the Super Bowl. You can do Super Bowl parties, Kentucky Derby.
Not can do. I didn't ask you what you can do. I asked you what you do.
And that's what I do, Sundance Film Festival, and I do other things. I set up parties for other people.
Bert, you're following this.
I'm hearing it.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. It's work. It's work, and you know what? People pay well to have a good time, and, you know, sometimes you do charity events, sometimes you do other things, but it's work.
Ever gamble?
Yes, I do.
What kind of gambling?
World Series of Poker is going on right now. I'm here missing it. It's in Vegas for a month.
What other kind of gambling?
Pretty much poker. I bet on sports. Did well on the Lakers, beating the Jazz this year. No, did quite well. I was in Vegas for that. Won a lot of money. The Jazz were favored. Lakers were a better team.
That way you'd have a lot of cash.
Yes, I do, and I deal
now,
in cash.
You have a debit card.
Yes.
Which means that you have a bank account.
Yes, I have 4 accounts.
And when you have a bank account, you have checks.
No, I actually do not have checks. Only for my NMP consulting, only my consulting business.
How old are you?
32.
Why wouldn't a 32-year-old man who earned $250,000 the year before and $85,000 this year have checks and instead keep all of his money in cash and pay his bills in cash?
Just the nature of my business. Gamblers, we keep a lot of money in cash.
Now we're talking.
Yes, we keep a lot of money.
Consulting people don't. Because consulting people are not paid in cash. Consulting people are paid by businesses by check.
I have checks deposited into the business account.
And?
I write checks from the business account for materials for business gigs that I do.
And how are you paid from the business, sir?
I pay myself.
With what?
I write it, well, I transfer money. I transfer money. So.
You see, you almost tripped over your tongue, Mr. Stanworth.
No, I transfer money.
You write a check.
No, I don't write a check. I transfer from one account to the next, and that's considered writing a check online when you transfer banking fees.
So you transfer money into what account, sir?
My personal checking.
Your personal
Checking.
Checking!
And savings.
When you have a checking account, you have, what do you have when you have a checking account?
Checks.
Checks.
But I chose not to have checks. I use my check card as my checks.
You know, my problem is I believe her just slightly more than I believe you. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you're a hustler.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're a hustler. I know that that's how you make your living. You're a
Yeah.
hustler. But I can't figure her out, you know? She's got this passive-aggressive thing that I'm just not getting. I got you,
Yeah.
Mr. Stanworth.
Well, you can look at the
I
bank
got
statements.
you.
This girl's
I
making...
got you.
Yeah.
But I'm, you know, I really don't get her right away. But I know one thing. A lot of stuff is charged here, and she's not asking for all that money.
No.
Because she says that you paid her a good portion of it.
Yes.
I mean, on one she says you paid her $700, on one you paid $8,000. You paid a lot of money for purchases that you made. She gives you credit for a lot of those things because all she says you owe her is $1,800. And one of the things that I found troubling, Mr. Stanworth, was that you said, and besides paying her in cash, I gave her a very good deal on a used car.
No, well, I didn't give her the used. I had a used car. She got rid of her Toyota 4Runner.
Did you just say no to me, Mr. Stanworth? You want me to read what you wrote?
No,
in
no,
your answer?
you're absolutely correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I can't believe that. It just sounds ridiculous. If it doesn't smell right, it's not true. Why would you all come together and the one person who witnessed the act of vandalism is not here?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Victoria Hannafin says former friend Nicholas Stanworth owes for unpaid credit card charges. Nicholas claims he paid Victoria back in cash.
Okay, you still have the car?
I still have the car, but the car was never Mr. Stanworth's. He drove it, but it was his brother-in-law, Brady. And I purchased it from Mr. Brady, not Mr. Stanworth.
How much did you pay for it?
I believe somewhere around $8,000, but I didn't purchase it from Mr. Stanworth. I purchased it
I had the car for
from
3 years.
Brady.
Whose car was it?
My brother-in-law's. I had it for 3 years. He
Because
didn't
you
want it.
can't have a car in your own name.
I own 3 cars in my own name.
Really?
Yes, I have a 61 Lincoln Continental I'm restoring right now. I have a Nissan 300ZX and a truck.
And how do you pay for the insurance on those?
Cash.
Mr. Stanworth, you're a hustler. And you owe her $1,800. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I told the truth. There's nothing for me to hide. And she just got a free $1,800. I'm not happy about it.
I was in a bad spot emotionally, and so he kind of filled that void.
It was a sugar daddy type relationship.
I was all alone out there, so he took advantage of that.
Just deal in cash. No credit cards.
Never trust anyone, and make sure you get a receipt and don't deal in cash.
Rickard is suing fellow partygoer, 26-year-old Jesse McCandless, for kicking his truck in a drunken rage.
Mr. McCandless, why don't you tell me what happened on June 13th?
Okay. Me and my date for the night, we decided to go to a party over at my friend Steve Cohn's house.
My date and I.
My date and I, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Better.
Okay, thank you. Well, we decided to go to a party at my friend's house when we were outside arguing after we'd been drinking for a while.
Who was outside arguing?
Me and my date.
You have short attention span, Mr. McCandless.
What's that?
Keep going.
Okay. And the plaintiff over here, Mr. Willard, he decided to butt in to the argument.
What were you arguing with your date about?
Well, she was crazy. She has some type of bipolar disease. I'm not even sure, but basically...
Was it just a date of yours, or was somebody that you had been dating?
No, just a date. This was our first date. I'd just known her for maybe like 2 weeks. And
so you
this
took
was
her to
the
a
first
party
time
and
we
you
went
were
to
both
hang out.
drinking?
That's right.
How long had you been drinking before you had the argument outside?
A few hours.
So it would be fair to say that you were in no condition to, say, drive.
No, I wasn't in no condition
And you're
to
not
drive.
a trained psychiatrist or psychologist, I assume, sir. So the fact that you believe that your date suffers from a mental illness is speculation on your part.
Okay, yes.
Right. And you were feeling no pain.
Exactly, feeling
Right.
pretty good.
So you were arguing with her outside, and the plaintiff came out to intervene.
That's right.
And what happened?
And he basically, he told me... he
Don't
got
look
in my
over there
face.
on the carpet. Look at my
I'm sorry.
eyes.
He got into my face and he had told me that I had to leave. And I had told him that I wasn't going to leave.
Why not?
Well, I was drinking with everyone else. I was at my friend Steve's house and...
Well, your friend Steve didn't want a drunk...
Well, we were all drunk.
Fighting. Listen, sometimes you get drunk and you just make a lot of love. And sometimes you get drunk and you make a lot of fighting and noise, which is, I assume, why you were asked to leave, because you were making a lot of noise.
Right, okay.
Right?
Right, I'm sorry.
Okay, so he told you to leave and you said, I'm not leaving, I'm
That's
drinking.
right.
Go ahead.
Okay, and then that's when Willard decided he was going to push me and I landed into his truck.
You mean this person?
This person
pushed you.
Pushed me, and I stumbled back into his truck.
Causing a dent.
Causing the dent.
Which is what you're suing over. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
The dent.
Correct.
May I see the dent on the car?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times do you allege, sir, that he kicked the car?
I was in the house at the time.
Who saw him kick the car?
We didn't actually see him, ma'am.
Well, who saw him kick the car?
Nobody that I brought with me.
Oh, well, then how am I capable of trying a case, sir, without evidence? What did you bring these people for? If there was a person who saw him kick the car outside, sit down. If there was a person who saw him kick the car outside and you didn't bring him, why would you bring other...
He admitted to Steve later
Mr.
on.
Rickert, listen to me very carefully, sir. There was a witness that saw him kick the car. Is that correct?
I'm sure there was. I was inside the house at the time.
Well, somebody came in and said that he kicked the car, right?
Right.
Do you know who that was?
No, I do not.
Do you know who it was?
Yes, ma'am.
Who?
Her name's Samantha.
Well, then, that could have been easily transmitted to you, sir. And I don't understand why Samantha didn't come in to court today to testify that she saw him kick the car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay, I just have a few questions for you. When did you tell the plaintiff that Samantha witnessed him kicking the car?
I don't believe I told the plaintiff that Samantha
Why would you travel all the way here and not tell the plaintiff that there was a witness to the incident? I don't believe that. I can't believe that. It just sounds ridiculous. If it doesn't smell right, it's not true. Why would you all come together and the one person who witnessed the act of vandalism is not here?
Your Honor, he's had contact with my insurance agent, and he admitted on the phone to my insurance agent and Steve.
Just a second. I'm not hearing that. That's hearsay.
I have letters from my insurance agent.
That's hearsay, sir. Letters are hearsay. I don't understand why you have a witness and you didn't bring that witness. Goodbye. Case is dismissed.
Please excuse me, step out. Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, Mark Davis is suing the mother of his son, Crystal Poindexter, for an unpaid loan to pay her rent. Crystal claims Mark offered to give her the money.
All rise. Ladies. Yeah, this is case number 115 on the calendar, the matter of Davis versus Poindexter.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Davis, you and the defendant have a child together, a grown child. I assume that's you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
He's 25. My daughter's 15.
Now, Mr. Davis says that he loaned you some money. You were at risk of being evicted. You've maintained a cordial relationship over the years. Would that be correct?
No, it wasn't really cordial. I mean, now and then I would see her when I go see my son, and that's it.
When I say cordial, cordial enough for you to know that she was in need of funds.
No, because at the time she was with a man, so I think things
Well,
was
tell me,
taken care
Mr.
of.
Davis, then,
Yes.
how did this loan come about, sir?
Well, she had called me up, and she was talking to me about things, and then she...
Well, if she called you up and she was talking to you, Mr. Davis, Davis, then I have to assume that your relationship was cordial.
Well, yeah, okay.
I mean, why do you say no? Just because a woman says something to you, your immediate reaction is no, it's wrong?
No.
True. Huh?
I said true.
Who's that lady?
It's my sister.
Sister's got the number.
Yeah.
You know, you learn early on at school when you play antonyms, homonyms, and synonyms. You say yes, no, black, white, day, night, rain, shine. Just because female says it doesn't mean it's always wrong, Mr. Davis. So you and the defendant had a cordial relationship.
Yes.
Cordial enough for you to speak to each other, and she called you up and told you she was having financial difficulty.
Yes.
Now, see how easy that is? Very easy. When did that happen?
It happened on the 26th of December, 2009.
Did you call her or did she call you?
She called me.
And what did she say when she called you?
When she called me, I didn't know who she was at first because, you know, I haven't heard from her in a while. And she
How
doesn't
long?
have months. It's been some months. It's been some months. And she didn't have my number. My son has my number. So when she called and she said, I'm Crystal. I'm like, Crystal? Who? Crystal. Then it finally hit and she said, you know, your son's mother. So I'm like, oh. So I said, what do you want? And, you know, we were talking, and she came up 3 separate times about she's behind in her rent. So on the third time, I asked her if she wanted to make a loan, and she said yes. So I said, okay, well, how much you want to borrow? She said, well, maybe about like $5,000. I said, well, then, make it light on yourself where you can pay me back. So she came up $2,000.
Go ahead.
And I went over there, and I got to the house. I saw my son. I gave him my envelope with money. It's all $200.
How much did you give?
I know, my son, I gave him $200. Her daughter, who was not my child, I gave her $50. I guess I was being Mr. Santa Claus.
Did your father give you $200?
Yeah.
He said it was a gift?
Yeah.
Did he give your sister money?
Yes.
Give her $50?
Yes.
Great. Go ahead.
Then I went in the living room and I spoke with Miss Poindexter here. And I told her, I'm giving this money and it's a loan. When am I getting my money back? She told me that I would get the money back when she gets an income tax check. The old line, I fell for it, which was supposed to be in March. And I gave her the money. I sat there for a while
Where did you get the money from?
I had money in a bank, and plus I had an inheritance. My grandparents had passed away, and Lomilo.
When did you get this inheritance?
I think it was in November, ma'am.
Did your sister get inheritance too?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you get?
It must have been a total of $80,000.
Okay.
So I went to the house, gave her the money. I stayed for a little while longer, and I left. Sometime in March, you know, I called up to find out when am I getting my money back. She said she didn't have to pay me my money.
Okay. Go.
When I first called him, it was to find out how his mother was doing, because I found out his mother was in the hospital. He wouldn't let my son see his mother at all.
Listen to me very carefully. I want you to tell me what you said to him when you called him.
Could my son see your mother in the hospital? He said no. Then we started talking, and I did tell him that I was...
Just a second. Did he tell you why?
No, he didn't tell me why. My son told me why, that she has cancer.
Okay, so he didn't go over to see you and bring you money and be a nasty man by purposely preventing your son from seeing his mother. If his mother was ill in the hospital with cancer, it's very possible she didn't want to see anybody, or he felt as if he was protecting his son from seeing his mother at that point. Whatever it was, don't paint him to be a worse person than he is.
Yes, yeah.
Because you claim that he didn't contribute financially to raising his son for a very long time, which is why you don't owe him this money.
Right.
That's your defense. Now, I want to know the conversation that you had with him when you called him.
Okay, I told him as we was talking that I was in arrears. He asked me, would you like...
You were in arrears of what?
Of getting evicted from my apartment.
Who were you living in your apartment with?
Me, my son, and my daughter.
Nobody else?
No.
No boyfriend?
No, just us three.
And?
And he said, what is your arrears? I told him what the arrears was. He said, well, I could give you $2,000. That's just what he said, Your Honor.
Go ahead, I can give you $2,000.
I could give you $2,000.
And when did you tell him that you would be able to pay him back?
When he started harassing me by calling me? No. On the phone, I didn't.
With your income tax check?
When he started harassing me over the phones and calling me.
In what month was that?
In March, when he started calling me. Okay, sorry.
In March, when you would ordinarily get your tax return. So what did you say to him?
I told him, I can't pay you back right now because I'm trying to get my situation together as far as making sure I can pay my bills. So please, I feel that you owe me because I took care of your son. And then that's when he told me, no, I want my money. I'm going to take you to court. No, matter of fact, I'm not going to take you to court. I'm going to take you to the streets. I know some people in Queens. So we went through all of that, Your Honor. He threatened my life. My daughter heard it, my son heard it. So now I'm scared because he threatened me, and now I got to watch my back every day to see, make sure over this money.
Ms. Poindexter, yes. I'm going to explain it to you very easily.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What do you do?
Right now, I'm not doing nothing.
Did you graduate from high school?
No.
Oh, that would be something for you to do, at least get a GED if you're not doing anything else.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, I know I'm right.
And later today.
What did you learn from your life class? What did you learn there?
I learned a lot today.
You didn't learn to pay your debts. That you didn't learn.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Davis says the mother of his son, Crystal Poindexter, owes for a loan to pay her rent.
Now, Mr. Davis should never resort to threats.
Yes.
And resort to what he considers street justice.
Yes.
Neither should you.
No. Mm-hmm.
Which is what you did. You borrowed this money from him because you were in arrears in your rent and you had trouble paying your bills. And then when you began to reflect on it and think about it, you said, you know what? He really wasn't a supportive father and didn't pay his fair share for 20 years. I don't owe him this money. It's unreasonable for him to ask me to pay him back this money, because that's what you say in your answer. But that's what you say in your answer. That, too, is a different form of street justice.
Yes, Sean.
It says, listen, I didn't get what I felt was fair, so I'm going to take matters into my own hands. If you thought that he owed you money, what you do is you take him to court.
Yes.
But you don't borrow money if you're in a state of an emergency and then decide to change the rules because of some alleged past slight or past irresponsible behavior. Mr. Davis, what, Mr. Davis?
Let's Judge Judy. If she was so scared of me, how come on, I think it was the 26th of May, I forgot what month it was, ma'am, but what she did, she went with me to go see my mother, her and her daughter, after it was supposed to be the alleged threat, the week after.
Listen to me.
She went with me.
Listen to me.
I'm sorry, yes.
I think that Ms. Poindexter is making excuses. She did give you back a couple of $100.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of this, so she owes you $1,800.
Yes, ma'am.
Just for my own curiosity, Mr. Davis, while your son, who looks like a very nice young man, was growing up and living with his mother, I assume, were you paying child support?
Yes, ma'am. They was taking it out of my check every week.
How much?
I think it was $50 because I had a low-paying job.
Whatever it was.
Yes, ma'am.
And there were no arrears built up?
No, ma'am. Even if, well, if there was arrears, I caught up on it and paid it, and that was it. But it was no arrears like that, ma'am.
Yes.
He didn't pay child support, Your Honor, until I stopped working because my job relocated to Ohio. And I had to get on welfare. Welfare found him and made him pay child support.
How old was your son?
12.
Did you pay child support for the son's first
Judge
12
Judy,
years?
Before the public assistant contacted me, I would take my son shopping for school.
No. Mr. Davis, I've been in this business for a long time. We're not talking about taking shopping. We're not talking about buying clothes. We're not talking about taking to the movies. We're not talking about those things. We're talking about what you get.
I was getting money, giving money.
Okay, put your hand down. What do you do?
I'm just a student right now.
Where do you go to school?
I'm just, basically, I'm just going up and down. I'm not really in school right now, but I'm trying.
What are you doing?
Right now, I'm not doing nothing.
You have to do something.
I work in like a little auto sound, like work with cars and things like that.
Do you work enough to make some money?
Nah, it's nothing on the books or nothing. I'm not like on the payroll or nothing. I just help around the shop because I know the owner of the shop and things like that.
Did you graduate from high school?
No.
Well, that would be something for you to do, at least get a GED if you're not doing anything else.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, I know I'm right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
When somebody tell me they're going to give it to me as a gift.
She didn't say that at all.
My daughter's my witness.
No, Miss King, you just told me what she said.
and later today,
When did you purchase the car?
June of 2009.
And where is the car now?
Sitting at my house.
Why am I here?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Davis says the mother of his son, Crystal Poindexter, owes for a loan to pay her rent.
Now, you're 25?
Yeah.
Time's wasting. You'll blink, you'll be 50. And you want to do something else with your life other than nothing.
Yeah, anyway.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused.
Judge
You may
Judy,
step up.
can I talk to you? He was using him for IRS.
Miss Poindexter, I just told you, and I'm going to repeat it one more time. He made a loan, which is what you asked him for. You changed the rules when you decided that he hadn't paid you any reasonable amount of support for your child. You can't do that. You had an agreement to pay him when you got your tax returns. You can't change that agreement. You owe him the money.
Okay,
that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's a deadbeat dad. He don't do nothing for my son.
I tried to break things down for her, but she just didn't want to pay me back.
I'm thankful for that, for he did that for me and stuff, but the way he does things, he's evil. He's conniving.
I was so evil. How come I had a payment plan on her and everything? I mean...
And he's no good, and that's wrong for him to be like this. To bring me to court for this.
She thought I was a jerk, and that's not right.
His son's mother, who takes care of his son, that he don't do nothing?
Now all of a sudden she wants to flip things around. And
because he's evil, that's why.
But yeah, I'll be the evil one, I guess.
I would have worked it out, but he don't want, he's evil. He's an evil man, I'm telling y'all.
Wow, just be wary. Be wary of women like that, please.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Williams versus King. Step forward.
Katina Williams is suing her sister-in-law, Yolanda King, for an unpaid loan to attend a life seminar.
Miss Williams, the defendant is your sister-in-law, and you claim a loan that she has not repaid.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not exactly sure of what Miss King's defense is. She seems to suggest that you forgave the loan. When was it, and what was it for?
It was in December, and the loan
December of 2009?
Yes, ma'am, December of 2009, and the loan was for her to go on a trip to visit Miss Juanita.
Who is Miss Juanita?
She's an evangelist in Atlanta, Georgia, and she does, like, work on TBN, and it was supposed to be for a Christian women's trip that she needed the money for.
Have you done that trip before?
No, this is my first time doing the trip.
And how much was it to go?
$1,000.
Was that for the event itself, or
It was a 2-day class.
Did it include your airfare or your transportation, your hotel, or just the class?
Just the class.
Where were you staying?
My brother-in-law.
How far away is that from where you live?
Atlanta, like 4 hours.
So you were going to drive?
I drove my car.
Why was it important for you to go if you didn't have the money?
I wanted to go to the event, the 2-day life class.
Did you ask your sister-in-law to lend you the money?
Yeah, I asked her. Can I...
When did you ask her?
I think it was the end of November.
And when did she give you the money?
She gave me the money on the 8th of December. My nephew went and picked the money up and deposited for me. I have the papers right here.
And?
Deposited in the account.
And?
And they took it out the account.
So why are we here?
Why are we here?
Yeah.
Because she gave it to me as a loan.
Yes, I understand. She gave it to you as a loan. You didn't pay her back. So why are we here?
Because she said in my living room, the Thursday before I left, we went to Cato's, get me a pair of pants. She bought me a pair of pants. And we got in my car, came back at my car, went in my living room, and she said, sister-in-law, I'm happy for you, that you're going on this trip because you deserve to go on this trip. She said, I'm going to give it to you because this is your destiny. And I said, okay. And
on what date did that conversation take place?
It was on the 10th, that Thursday.
Well, I thought she gave you the money on the 8th.
She gave me money on the 8th. The conversation took place to that Thursday, the day before I left, that Friday.
When were you supposed to pay her the money back?
When I was supposed to pay her the money back?
That was my question. You have to give me the answer.
After she told me I didn't have to pay her back.
I didn't ask you that. When were you supposed to?
I was supposed to pay her back when I got my taxes. And when she told me I didn't have to pay her back.
She didn't tell you don't have to pay her back at all. I mean, you surmise by the phrase, I'm going to give this to you because I know it's your destiny, the fact that she unequivocally said to you, you do not have to pay me the money back? That's not what she said at all.
She said it was
What did you learn from your life class?
Well, I learned a lot from my life.
What did you learn there?
I learned a lot, 2 days.
You didn't learn to pay your debts. That you didn't learn.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today.
Anything else?
It's just been pretty ridiculous, the immaturity I've had to deal with, everything I've been through.
You know, that's what happens.
It is.
You know what I have to go through every day?
Suing a family member? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
What did you learn?
But when somebody tell me they're going to give it to me as a gift.
She didn't say that at all.
My daughter's my witness.
No, Miss King, you just told me what she said. She said, I'm happy to have been able to do this for you.
Yeah, and she said she wasn't going to give it.
No, I'm happy to be able to do this for you. You heard it. You don't have to pay me the money back. I don't know what happened afterwards, but that's what you heard. So what I want to know is what you learned in the 2-day seminar with the evangelist. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that the money was giving.
I don't have no reaction.
And yet, I don't think she really learned too much.
I don't have none.
Because her heart still hasn't changed. She's still hardened.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Basically, lesson not learned.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stewart versus Hunt. Step forward.
22-year-old Tara Stewart is suing former friend, 19-year-old James Hunt, for money owed on a car she sold him and for shooting up the car with a paintball gun.
Mr. Hunt, you purchased a used car from Miss Stewart.
Yes.
What kind of car did you purchase from?
Grand Am teal. I'm not sure the year.
How old?
1994.
And how much did you purchase the car for?
$500.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. And how much did you pay her?
I've paid her $120 so far, and I lost my job. So
I didn't ask you anything else. I asked you how much you paid her. And when did you purchase the car?
June of 2009.
And where is the car now?
Sitting at my house.
Why am I here?
She refuses to come and get the car when
she doesn't have to get the car. She sold you the car.
She has the title and the keys.
She's going to give them to you.
Okay.
As soon as you pay her, $380. Do you understand? That's what it is. $380 is what you still owe her.
Yes, that is what I owe her. But
Good.
I have
Perfect.
no job.
Anything else?
Yeah, he slandered me on the internet quite a bit. Yeah, it's just been pretty ridiculous, the immaturity I've had to deal with, everything I've been through.
You know, that's what happens.
It is.
You know what I have to go through every day? Hey,
I'm the
you know what I have to go through every day?
Sure.
He owes you $380 for the car, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Out the back door to your right.
And on the next Judge Judy, 23-year-old Larissa Wills is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Denby Cooper, for an unpaid loan to pay off traffic tickets.
Yeah, it's case number 147 on the calendar in the matter of Wills versus Cooper. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Cooper, what do you do for a living, sir?
I'm the head of domestic sales for a multi-million-dollar company.
And how long have you had that job?
Since about November of 2009.
How much do you earn?
$35,000 a year.
Get commissions?
Yes.
Bonuses?
Not yet.
Have you gotten a commission?
Not yet.
So your base salary is $35,000.
Right.
Who do you live with?
I live with my parents.
What do they do for a living?
My mother works for the county, and my father owns a construction company.
When were you and Miss Wills planning to get married?
We hadn't set a date. It was something that we had talked about loosely. We were trying to get all of our ducks in a pond first. At the time, I was unemployed. I wanted to make sure we moved out first, lived together. So we didn't have a date set.
And when you were together, where were you living?
I lived with my parents.
So even when you were dating and discussing marriage, you were living with your parents?
Correct.
And where was Miss Wills living?
With her parents.
Now, you accumulated a whole bunch of tickets.
Correct.
Where?
In Riverside County.
Why?
They were mostly tinted window tickets that I had forgotten about.
What does that mean, tinted window tickets?
My windows on my truck were illegally tinted.
Why were they illegally tinted?
It's the way I bought it.
How many tickets did you get for that?
I think the total was maybe 4.
What else did you get tickets for?
That's all I can remember. It's been so long.
How long ago was it?
It's been well over a year since we paid off the tickets.
Now, you use the word we loosely, I assume, because you didn't pay for the tickets.
Right.
Tell me how that came about, Mr. Cooper.
When we were planning on getting married, I was planning on becoming a police officer. Something like this was holding me back, and we were planning on going to Vegas. I got pulled over, and he said I didn't have a license, which I was unaware of, and we were still going to Vegas.
So you had no license?
Right.
You were pulled over, and you were driving?
Right.
Without a license?
Right.
What do you mean you weren't aware of the fact you didn't have a license?
I never received a letter from the DMV in the mail.
Of course you did. If you've been living with your parents your whole life, you got it in the mail, you ignored it.
I just moved back home.
You ignored your tinted windows. You moved back home from where?
Temecula.
Who were you living in Temecula with?
Friends of mine.
Is that where you got the tickets for tinted windows?
That's where I assumed my mail was forwarded, and I had never received it since then.
How long were you living with friends in Temecula?
Well over a year.
And what's the current address on your driver's license?
Riverside.
And were you living in Riverside when you got your driver's license?
Yes.
How old are you?
25.
And how long is a driver's license valid for?
I don't know.
4 years, 5 years, 10 years, as long as a driver's license is valid in the state of California.
I do not know.
Do you have your driver's license with you?
I don't have it on me, no.
So what you're trying to tell me, Mr. Cooper, is you went to motor vehicles and changed your address when you were living in Temecula?
I changed my address to Temecula. When I came back home, I never changed it back.
They send your mail where your driver's license indicates that you live. My question to you, Mr. Cooper, is, are you trying to tell me that a man who accumulates tickets for the same offense time after time doesn't know how long his driver's license is good for, but was a good enough citizen to go to Temecula and advise the county in Temecula that you had temporarily relocated with friends to change your address on your driver's license? I just want you to tell me that that's what you want me to believe.
That's not what I'm telling you.
Fine. Then your mail went to Riverside, not to Temecula. And when it went to Riverside, your parents, somebody responsible who works for the county, and your father who has his own business would have said, hey, idiot, your driver's license is suspended. You get where I'm going?
I understand.
Perfect. Now, let's move on with the tickets. So you were planning to be a police officer, just what we need. And this was holding you back because you were on your way to Vegas and you got pulled over and you had no driver's license. Did they impound your truck?
No, I wasn't on my way to Vegas when I got pulled over.
Oh, I thought you were on your way to Vegas.
It was something that we had planned to do.
Oh, so you weren't on your way there.
No.
You got pulled over in Riverside.
Correct.
And they said your license has been suspended because you didn't pay all these tickets.
Correct.
Who was in the truck with you?
Nobody.
So what happened to your truck?
I turned around and went home.
They let you drive home with no license?
I was a quarter-mile from my house.
They let you drive home with
Correct.
no license. And what did you do when you got home?
Tried to figure out why I didn't have a license.
And did you figure it out?
I did.
What did you figure?
The culmination of all the tickets that I had.
So you must have called somebody to find out. Did you ask your mom to help you?
No.
How did you find out?
Went to the DMV. The DMV told me.
You went yourself?
Right.
How did you get there?
I had a friend drive me.
Great. And when you got to the DMV, you found out that you had accumulated these tickets with fines. Right. To what amount?
Roughly $2,600-ish.
$2,600-ish. Ish. Got it. So then what did you do?
Had to find out what the tickets were for. Had to find out how to pay them off.
How did you pay them off?
I didn't pay them off.
Well, they were paid off.
Correct.
How did that happen?
Larissa paid them off.
Tell me how that happened.
Before we went to Vegas, she said that she didn't want to drive, and I was gonna set up a payment plan, but it would take too long to pay off all the tickets. So the end result would be...
Which means you wouldn't have a license.
Correct, which means I couldn't drive to Vegas.
Go ahead.
Okay. Then Larissa didn't want to drive to Vegas. We were going with a group of friends. So she offered to pay them off for me.
What did she say?
She said...
No, don't look there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember the best I can, too. She said something along the lines of that she had a credit card or she had money, because I don't have a credit card, and that she offered to pay them off for me.
Not offered. She said something to you.
She said she will pay them off for me.
Okay. Now, how were you supposed to pay her back?
I wasn't supposed to pay her back.
That's a lot,
Well,
Your Honor.
You were going to make a payment plan with the people in Temecula.
Riverside.
Or Riverside.
Correct.
Oh, these tickets were from Riverside. Fabulous. Good. You were going to make a payment plan with the people in Riverside, and they are strangers to you.
Correct.
Why wouldn't you at least make a payment plan with your girlfriend and say, listen, if you pay them off for me, I'll at least give you what I was going to pay to the county?
Correct.
Why didn't you? Stop saying correct. Why wouldn't you say that to her?
I didn't need to. She offered it as a gift.
That's a lie.
Why wouldn't you say that to her?
Because I didn't.
Why?
Because it was a gift.
He did say that to me, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I assumed it to be a gift. It was brought to me as a gift. I wouldn't offer to pay my grandma for a sweater for Christmas.
Don't be a wise guy with me. Why didn't you ask your mother who works for the county or your father who has his own business?
They said no.
Because you're a bum.
And later today.
I want you to start to think. You didn't think you were coming to the beach today. And you knew what she was suing you for. So let's start to think and not act like a goofball. Okay, sir?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Larissa Wills says ex-boyfriend Denby Cooper owes for a large loan to pay off traffic tickets.
Now, what I'm asking you is, why wouldn't you say that to her? Sweetheart, they're my tickets. I got them. I was wrong. I don't want you to take out money from a credit card. As it happens, she says she borrowed it from her mother's credit card and then paid her mother back. But I don't want you to be out the money. It's my fault. It's my responsibility. If you pay it off up front so that I can have a license, you know, I'll pay you and your mother back slowly. Why wouldn't a person like you do that?
Because I didn't, Your Honor. Because I assumed it to be a gift. It was brought to me as a gift. I wouldn't offer to pay my grandma for a sweater for Christmas.
Why didn't, listen, don't be a wise guy with me. Why didn't you ask your mother who works for the county or your father who has his own business?
Because they wouldn't pay for me.
Why?
They said no.
Because you're a bum.
I'm not a bum.
Well, sure you were. You weren't working.
Right.
You were 24 years old. You're a bum. And you had no business going to Vegas. How are you going to Vegas if you were 24 years old, had no job? What were you going to do in Vegas? Stand on a corner?
No.
What were you going to do in Vegas?
Go out with friends. We had a group of people who were going with us.
And how were you going to go out? What were you going to use as barter?
I had money.
From what?
I was working part-time.
Part-time where?
At a cell phone repair company.
On the books or off the books?
Off the books.
Were you getting unemployment insurance?
Yes.
Huh? Always follow the money. That's why I love this job. How long were you working off the books while you were collecting unemployment?
Not very long.
I want the president to listen to this. Go ahead.
Not
How
very
long?
long.
Not very long. How long is not very long?
Less than a month, 3 weeks. It wasn't a daily job. I fixed cell phones from home.
You had enough to go to Vegas along with the government's help.
Correct. We split the tab.
You're a big boy. You eat a burger and a half. And you were going out with friends. That's not cheap in Vegas. So the couple of 3 days a week that maybe you worked for a cell phone company while collecting unemployment and saying you were looking for work, you must have earned really good money fixing cell phones.
No.
How much did you pay off for his tickets?
It was $26.78.
How much did he pay you back?
$200.
Lovely. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,470. You get a ticket. It's your responsibility to pay it. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm very happy with it.
I was a little disappointed.
I guess he just didn't want to pay me back for the tickets, and I couldn't get a hold of him.
It was a gift.
He told me to never call him again.
I didn't want to talk to her anymore.
He was mad at me because we broke up.
After she broke up with me to be with somebody else, I had no desire to want to be with her anymore or talk to her.
We just weren't good for each other.
Don't trust women?
Never loan people any money without a written agreement.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McClellan versus Lotz. Step forward, please.
Sammy McClellan is suing her ex-boyfriend, David Lotz, for loans for child support, rent, and an airline ticket.
Miss McClellan, you met the defendant, according to the complaint that I read on the internet. You began to date him and made a series of loans to him. You no longer are involved in any sort of relationship. You want your money back. Mr. Lotz says that there was never any agreement to pay you back any of the money that you gave to him. And the one issue with regard to an airline ticket, you were unable to use it and you gave it to him as a gift. Mr. Lotz, when did you and the plaintiff begin a relationship?
I don't know if I would call it a relationship per se. I talked to her online, and I think I saw her maybe a total of 4 times.
And how long did it last?
Until the time that I thought it was just non-conducive to have any contact with her whatsoever.
Why was that?
Just erratic behavior by emails, text messages, and I have 2 small sons, and I just didn't think that any type of relationship would be an appropriate environment for her to be around them.
Okay. At what point did you decide that? Did you decide that before or after you took money from her?
Well, it would be after.
While you were taking money from her, everything was fine?
We really didn't have a relationship per se except friendship. As I said, I saw her 4 times.
Was it clear to you, sir, that she had more of an interest in you than you had in her?
No, not necessarily.
How much money did you give her over the course of the brief time that you spent with her?
None.
How many gifts did you purchase for her?
None.
How much money did you take from her?
It was roughly $2,000.
And what did you take the money for?
I had some past bills, and well, the $2,000 that would include the plane ticket that was a gift.
Forget the plane ticket. I'm not interested in a plane ticket. She had a plane ticket that she couldn't use, and it was going to go to waste, and she gave it to you. Who cares? I'm interested in cash.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were doing either some sort of courting or some sort of conning, or you're a pervert. You have 3 choices. Those are the only 3 choices I can come up with. Courting, conning, or a pervert.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sammy McClellan says ex-boyfriend David Lotz owes for loans to pay his child support and rent.
Now, Mr. Lotz, how much cash money did you take from Miss McClellan?
About $1,700.
Let me hear the first amount of money that you took from her. When was it and what was it for?
I'm not sure of the exact date, but I had some...
I don't need an exact date. Give me a month and year.
Roughly 4 months ago, last year.
Well, 4 months ago would not be last year, sir. Your math is off. When was the first time he took money from you?
It was on, actually, March 2nd.
And what was it for, Mr. Lotz?
I had some past due things that I had to pay.
Like what?
Various things. I don't know right now. I mean, we had a discussion.
I want you to start to think. You didn't think you were coming to the beach today. And you knew what she was suing you for. So let's start to think and not act like a goofball. Okay, sir? What was the money for? You saw her, according to you, 3 or 4 times. In at least 2 of those 3 or 4 times, she gave you money. What was the first one for?
I believe the first one is I had some utilities stuff and some insurance.
How would she know that you had issues with your utilities and your insurance?
We had extensive conversations via the internet and Facebook. That was basically the bulk of the relationship.
You mean that you needed money?
I was going through a very hard divorce, and I confided in her as a friend, and so she knew the situation of everything that was going on.
Don't tell me what she knew. If you're courting a woman on the internet, which is what you were doing.
I don't know. I think that's a
well, unless you're some sort of a pervert, I would assume that if you were on the internet involving someone in the intimacy of your life, you were doing either some sort of courting or some sort of conning, or you're a pervert. You have 3 choices. Those are the only 3 choices I can come up with. Courting, conning, or a pervert.
I don't see it that way.
I don't care what you see. So somehow she knew you needed money for your utilities and insurance. This had nothing to do with child support, did it?
No, I was paid for. I took care of that. It was paid.
When was it paid, sir?
I pay the first week of every month.
I told her about a hearing that was coming up March 2010 and the child support payments I needed to make right away. That's what you wrote. That's not what she wrote. That's what you wrote. That's not a utility. Your children are not utilities. They may be utilities to you, but child support is not a utility or insurance. How much did you give for child support?
It was $600.
That's a better answer. Now, these are the 2 sons that you didn't want to be around somebody that was as kooky as the plaintiff, right? These are the 2 small sons that you're very attached to, or do you have other sons?
Just them.
Just them. She didn't make them, did she? She didn't make them.
No, ma'am.
Whose responsibility is it to support them?
Mine.
Right. And what do you do for a living?
I'm a chef.
So you eat regularly. And the court sent an order of support that you were supposed to pay. Why didn't you pay it?
I was having some financial difficulties.
So you were either courting her, conning her, or you're a pervert. Right now we fit into the conning part.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much money did she send you in rent?
$11.50.
How much did you send back to her?
It was a gift in my estimation.
How much did you send back to her? The answer is none. Now you know where you fit.
Are you the victim of a scam? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, $600. It's not her responsibility to support your children. What other money did you take from her, Mr. Lotz?
My rent.
Rent. Who did you live with?
Myself.
So let's see. You're not paying child support, and you didn't have any money for rent. So what category are you? You're either courting her, conning her, or you're a pervert. How much money did she send you in rent?
$11.50.
How much did you send back to her?
It was a gift in my estimation.
How much did you send back to her? The answer is none. Now, in what month did she give you the $11.50 for rent?
It was March.
So in March, she gave you money for child support and rent.
To be honest, I don't remember.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at what point did you believe that she was a threat to your two children? What month was that?
It would have been in June.
Did you see her in April?
No, it was. No, I'm sorry. It was May. I'm sorry, Your Honor. It was May.
Everybody fits into one of those categories on the internet. Now you know where you fit. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $17.50. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. May step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, 24-year-old Shelley Stevens is suing her ex-boyfriend, Jason Halstead, for bail money, loans, and damaged property.
Order. All rise.
Yes, case number 174 on the calendar in the matter of Stevens versus Halstead.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Stevens, your complaint alleges that the defendant, who was your boyfriend, owes you some money for loans. And Mr. Halstead says there was never actually an agreement to pay you back any of the money, that he acknowledges that you advanced him. He said that they were gifts, he needed some cash, and you were going to be a couple, and you were more than happy to be generous when he needed it. Is that right?
That's correct.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Halstead?
I've been a network engineer for 11 years in the computer field.
What kind of income do you have?
Make 80 grand a year on top of commission.
You've been working for the same company for 11 years?
No.
How long have you been working for your current company?
Current company, I've been employed with them since February 22nd of 2010.
And when did you and Ms. Stevens start a relationship?
We started the relationship, met on February 14th. Of 2010.
And you started this new job on February 22nd?
Correct.
So you started it a week later?
Correct.
Now, what was the first loan you gave him?
Within the first couple of weeks, I got him loans for $1,613.35.
For what?
For work-related expenses for him.
Explain that to me.
I met him on February 14th, and soon after that, he got a job, and he said that he needed money for his work. So I lent him the money under the agreement. We had a verbal contract stating that he would pay me back on his first paycheck. I have receipts.
I'm listening.
There was no agreement to that.
Well, tell me how the work-related expenses, which she describes as work-related expenses, I assume some clothes. How did that come about?
Basically, I had a business trip as we were starting our lives together and lived.
You weren't starting your life together. You met on February 14th. You start your new job February 22nd. You need some clothes. Now you know each other a week.
We also moved in together.
When?
Pretty much instantly.
When you say instantly, you met February 14th where?
We met through a mutual friend at somebody's birthday get-together at a local bar.
And?
And pretty much we're inseparable ever since. We clicked right away, had a really good rapport with her. She seemed like a genuine good person.
And you had no place to live?
I had a place to live.
Where were you living?
I was living out of my car and on friends' couch.
You were living out of your car. So you connected right away, living out of your car.
Yep.
You met her. She was lonely, and she said, you might as well move in with me.
She didn't have a place to live. She was living with her current boyfriend, who was 20 years older than her.
So where did you move to?
My condo, my apartment/condo that we have. and that I'm currently in.
And how did you get that condo?
I basically negotiated with my new employer to provide me with a loan in order to secure that place of living.
And Miss Stevens moved in with you?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
March 1st.
When did she move out?
End of May, I believe it was, middle of May.
So she lived with you March and April and most of May.
Correct.
And what was the financial arrangement?
We had a verbal agreement that I would handle all the...
What was the financial arrangement?
Oh, that I would pay the bills as far as rent, the electricity, utilities, and she would take care of the food and any other particulars.
Okay. And did you pay the rent from March, April, and May?
Yes, ma'am.
When Miss Stevens lived there?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the rent?
The rent is $13.50.
And where were you living prior to March?
I was living with my ex-boyfriend of 5 years.
And when did you start to date Mr. Halstead?
On February 14th.
When did you move out of the boyfriend's house?
A couple days later.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a special ed teacher.
And when you moved out of the boyfriend's house, where did you move to?
I moved to my mom's house for a while first.
For how long?
For a couple weeks, until he got the condo.
No, no.
And then you moved in with him?
Correct.
Go.
That's incorrect. She basically moved directly out of his place, in with me, had me stay with her mom for a couple days while we were waiting for the condo to be cleaned out and closed.
So you stayed with her mother with her?
Right.
Okay.
There was no separation period between her and her ex. And
well, when she was staying with her mom.
Well, with me.
With you.
Right.
Well, that's a separation period. Okay. So you didn't pay anything in rent as a special ed teacher March, April, and May.
Correct. Okay.
Got it.
So when we talked about the verbal agreement for the work-related expenses, my witness here was here when she heard Jason agree that he would promise that he would pay me back for all the work-related expenses listed here. I have receipts and credit card statements paid for my credit card made out in his name.
What kind of expenses did you have March, April, and May?
Gas, food, everything for us to survive on. I'm buying a home right now, so I had to put a large sum down for my deposit on my home that I am about to move into.
That's your problem, Ms. Stevens. That's not his problem.
He had my credit card. I spent everything for gas, groceries, utilities, cell phone bills, Comcast, etc., gas, insurance.
I'd want to see that.
Yeah.
He says there was no agreement to pay you back for work-related expenses. That's his statement.
I have a witness stating that she heard that.
I'm not sure about it.
Okay. These are a bunch of credit card statements.
Do those credit card statements have on them water, Comcast? Do they have those expenses on it?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
Well, take a look. That's what I want to see.
Okay. They have the cell phone bill and I believe Comcast.
I'm not talking about whose cell phone.
I paid for both our cell phone bills, Comcast, everything.
You keep saying that. I just want to see it on your credit card statement. Don't show me the whole credit card statement. Bird, give her a pencil. She's not following me.
Circle.
Circle. Comcast. Power. Light. Water.
Yeah. I found 2 expenses on here.
So what I have here that you have circled is $169 in California Comcast on March 16th. I have 19 AT&T for $149. Am I correct that that's it?
No, I just did not come prepared. I apologize for that.
Well, this is prepared. This is your visa.
That's just the work-related expenses that I brought in.
No, my dear. Miss Stevens, is what you're telling me you have more than one credit card?
Yeah.
Go get it. Go get your bills for the other credit card that you say you have other items that were household items. Wait. But don't waste my time, because all they have to do is fax them to you, and we can make arrangements to do that now. So far I have $318 that you have circled from February to April.
I have a pile in the back about this tall of about $5,000 in expenses that I can go grab.
Expenses for what?
Groceries, utilities.
Are they paid bills by you?
And
what did you pay them with?
My other credit card. But most of them are groceries and other expenses. I only paid the Comcast and the AT&T bill.
See what happens when you get the nose starts to twitter?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's a con man. He's been doing this his whole life. He's a career criminal.
When were you served with the restraining order?
I mean, he's conned me. He's been conning people his whole life, and I can prove it with a background check.
And later today.
Can you do that? If not, I'm dismissing your case. Go back to your local small claims court and duke it out if some judge is idiot enough to do it. This judge is not that kind of an idiot.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shelley Stevens says ex-boyfriend Jason Halstead owes for loans and for property he either damaged or refuses to return.
What else do you claim he owes you money for?
In March, shortly after his first paycheck, he traveled to Atlanta, Georgia to visit a friend, and he got arrested for drug-related charges, and he asked me to please bail him out. And as much as I did not want to and let him know that he still owed me money, he let me know that he would not be able to pay me back any of the money that he had promised that he would pay me back unless I sent money over. So with another agreement that he pay me back immediately upon his next paycheck, I did send the MoneyGram over. I have the receipt and the statement of the MoneyGram that I sent over to bail him out of jail so that he can pay me back. And at this time, when he came back, he was unable to pay me back with his next paycheck because he was so behind on child support from being a deadbeat father, because he had been unemployed for a year and a half. He owed people money for who knows what, and people were supposedly after him for money, so he was not able to pay me back again. At this point, I got really upset, Your Honor, and that's when I went back in to get all of my items out of the house because he had not paid me back. At that time, he got physically and emotionally abusive. He threw me down. He threw my refrigerator down. I have pictures of the refrigerator that he broke. I have a police report because I felt unsafe and had to call the police, as well as my stepfather, to be there while I moved out all of my large items. And I have a copy of the police report if you'd like to see it.
No, I wouldn't. I want to know, on April 11th, there's a charge here that says work supplies.
That was from Fry's Electronics for his work.
And?
And that was part of the verbal agreement that he promised he would pay me back.
Was that April 11th before or after the $400 that you sent to him?
April 11th was after the $400 that I had sent him. I was on March 27th that I sent him the $400 to bail him out of jail.
I'll hear you now, sir. Go.
I have the contract for the loan if you need to see that from my employer.
I don't have to see it. I believe that she paid $300 towards the expenses of running the house for the 3 months that she lived there.
Basically, I've lost my job as a result of filing a restraining order against her. She has a firearm that she has not submitted yet to.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You filed a restraining order against her. Was that restraining order granted?
Yes, it was.
I'd like to see it.
Here is the first one, which was filed on...
No, I don't want to see the first one. I want to see the one that was granted.
He's been doing this his whole life. He's a career criminal. I have a 5-page criminal background check on him. I mean, he's conned me. He's been conning people his whole life, and I can prove it with a background check.
When were you served with the restraining order?
On June 15th, which is the date that he promised he would pay me back, Your Honor.
Stop with the money! Just answer my question. When were you served with the restraining order? And when was the first hearing date?
It was yesterday.
And what happened?
The judge said that there was not sufficient evidence for a restraining order and that she would grant a temporary one for 90 days.
So the answer is she granted a restraining order for 90 days.
Yes.
She didn't dismiss his application for a restraining order.
Correct.
She granted it for 90 days.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were present.
Yes. Your Honor, prior to that, he was upset because I was asking for the money that he had promised back, and he said that he was going to ruin my life.
Stevens, I want you to think about this. One would like to think that someone who teaches children with special needs would exercise better judgment than moving in with somebody that she's known for a week. That's number one. Number two, when you lend somebody money and they don't pay you back, the dumb thing is to lend them more money. And then the dumber thing is to lend them more money after that and to allow them to continue to use your credit card. Now, that would make me feel sorry for you if you got taken in by Mr. Halstead and kept giving him money because you were crazy about him and you thought that you were going to have a life together. The thing that makes me less sympathetic towards you, Ms. Stevens, is that you really paid nothing for 3 months, which allows somebody who works for the Board of Education to save enough money, as you said, to put a down payment on a house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
Do you expect courts to make a determination whether you own the vacuum cleaner, do you actually expect the court to make that judgment?
Yes.
No, it doesn't work that way. You have to behave like grown-ups.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shelley Stevens says ex-boyfriend Jason Halstead owes for loans and for property he either damaged or refuses to return.
So I feel less sympathy for you in the money that you laid out for him, which was, according to you, if I believe everything that you say, was $2,600, because $2,600 divided by 3 equals $866 a month. That would have covered your rent, water, utilities, because you don't have any of those on here, and everything else, which seems to be a rather even trade for the $2,600 that you advanced to him. So I have less sympathy for you, and therefore I feel less guilty about dismissing your case. Do you understand?
I do understand,
I
Your
don't
Honor.
believe there was a loan, and if I'm mistaken that there was an agreement to pay you back, you more than got paid back by living rent and utility free for the 3 months that you lived with Mr. Halstead, a fact that you do not seem to deny, but that you acknowledge when you tell me that you had a lot of expenses because you were saving up for a down payment on a house. Your case is dismissed.
Your
Thank
Honor?
you very much.
Your Honor, please.
That's it.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's just belligerent, acts very bipolar-ish.
He became emotionally and physically abusive.
Choked me during conversations
He threatened my life. He threw me down to the ground.
because she didn't like what I had to say.
He still continues to harass me.
Women scorned, you never know what they're going to do.
I'm genuinely scared.
Just glad it worked out and the truth prevailed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Muir versus DeLapp, step forward, please.
Annalise Muir is suing her ex-boyfriend, Robert DeLapp, for the return of property in a storage unit that's in his name.
Ms. Muir, how many years did you live together?
Off and on for 8.5 years.
What does that mean, off and on?
The first 4 years was an off and on. After that, it became pretty permanent.
It's your statement that after you broke up, certain property was taken out of a joint storage unit that belonged to you.
Yes.
He says you took certain take your hands out of your pockets. Sorry. He says certain property was taken by you that belonged to him. Now, do you expect courts to make a determination after living together for almost 9 years whether you own the vacuum cleaner, which is in here, or you own a television set? Do you actually expect a court to make that judgment?
Yes.
Doesn't work that way. You have to behave like grown-ups. If you separated your house, you take whatever property is yours, put it aside, label it. You take whatever property is yours, put it aside, label it, and forget it. We don't have time for this nonsense. Even when people get a divorce, were you ever divorced?
Yes.
Do you have a judgment of divorce?
Yes.
Did you have an attorney?
No.
Did you divide the property with your ex-husband?
No, I left it with him.
Then you left it. You didn't come back and say, I want the dishes, I want the glasses. Let me see what else he wants. Took my Kirby vacuum cleaner. That's you.
Yes.
We don't have time for this.
Your Honor,
Now,
we did buy things separately during the relationship.
great. Go outside into the hall, go through your property, whatever you can decide upon with each other that belongs to you, that he has, he'll give back to you. And whatever he has, including the vacuum cleaner that you have that belongs to him, you can give back to him. You can come in here with a list, and I will mark it, so ordered. Other than that, I'm not going through a storage unit of your stuff. That's all. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Yes, recall case number 158 in the matter of Muir versus DeLapp. Parties are reminded they're still under oath.
Can I have your list, please? These are the items that you agreed belong to each other. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good. Will you sign off on all these things because you can make the exchange of that property within the next 5 days? I don't think you need a marshal to do that. It sounds to me as if you've all done that in a very civilized way. Sign off on it.
He's got harassment down for $4,000.
Miss Muir, don't ask him. What do you want to know?
I was asking him to show you who's got harassment down for $4,000.
Just a second. Only property is going to be exchanged. Property is going to be exchanged. No money,
each one or
no
ones I
harassment.
agreed to, or what?
Only if those are what you've agreed to. Are those
Well, the
things
TV's been sold, so how would I return it?
If the TV's been sold, I can't help you.
She already knew about this. It was sold
Listen
for
to me
rent
very
in April.
carefully. No money is going to be exchanged. Only property. So whatever property each of you has in your own possession that belong to the other, figure it out. I will so order it, and you can exchange it. No money is going to be exchanged. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Can you do that? If not, I'm dismissing your case. Go back to your local small claims court and duke it out if some judge is idiot enough to do it. This judge is not that kind of an idiot. Do we understand each other?
Yeah, but see,
Bye.
it's not about me.
No.
Oh, my God.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Now it's case number 36 on the calendar in the matter of Idris versus Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Idris, the defendant is your former girlfriend, and it is your claim that she keyed your car when she got annoyed with you about something or other. Usually that's about another person in your life.
Right.
She denies that she did it. When was your car vandalized?
March 8th, Monday morning, around maybe from 10 to 11 a.m.
And when had you and Miss Brown had a falling out?
The previous night, she was at my house, which was March 7th. I picked her up around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Came to my house, we hanged out like we usually do. Just, you know, sitting down, whatever like that. So, say, fast forward to about 9 p.m., I'm getting ready to take her home, and she goes to use the bathroom. So while she goes use the bathroom, she grabs my phone. I didn't notice. So she's in the bathroom for about 5 minutes going through my phone. Meanwhile, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, let's go. Let me take you home. So she comes out the bathroom, starts screaming, starts, you know, going off. Like, oh, what's these pictures in your phone of girls, something like that. I said, listen.
Why did you take his phone?
I didn't have no reason to take his phone. I just seen it on the counter, and I thought just to take it and look in the bathroom.
And you took his phone in the bathroom in order to see who he had been contacting?
Yes.
Okay. And you found something on the phone that you didn't like?
Yes.
Okay. Now I got it. So, what happened?
So, fast forward, she was angry, she seen the photos, so she's like, take me home, take me home, take me home now. So whatever, we going downstairs. Meanwhile, I'm still kind of in my head, like, I mean, what is she really talking about? So we get in my car in the garage for me to take her home. The minute she steps into the car, she starts swinging at me, hitting me in my face. So I restrain her, like, chill, stop hitting me, what you doing? Like, chill, what are you doing? She's like, you know what, I'm going home. I got something. She get out the car, excuse my language, she gonna say,
Just a minute, had you pulled out of your garage?
no, I didn't even start the car yet.
No, but at the time she got out of the car, had you gotten out of the garage?
No, the car was still in the garage.
Okay.
So she get out the car, she dropped her keys, she's picking up her keys while I was holding her bag. I guess she dropped some stuff. So as she's walking out the car, excuse my language, she said, I got something for that A word, A. So in my head, I'm like, what can she possibly do to me to kind of...
I don't care what was in your head.
All right, well, that's what she said. So,
I don't care what was in your head. I only care about what she said to you,
okay,
what you said to her,
right,
what
all
you
right,
saw her do,
right,
and
okay,
what she said she did.
All right, well, that's what she said. So now we go next day, Monday morning, and I'm in my house, Monday morning, regular day, nothing, you know, I'm just hanging out.
Just a second. Let me understand this, Mr. Idris. So she left. You never took your car out of the garage?
Nope, I didn't even move it.
And she left. She walked home?
She walked home, yep.
Okay, how far is her house from
About
yours?
10, 15-minute walk by the Bronx Zoo.
She walked home, and you didn't hear from her again that night?
Oh, I did. She sent me a text message.
That night?
Yeah, more or less. I have the text message right here. It was actually...
see it.
Sure. It was actually 7 in the morning, 7:13 in the morning.
Okay, so the answer is you didn't hear from her again that night after about 9:30 at night?
Right, yeah, nothing, just
okay,
a text
you didn't
message.
hear from her, she didn't call you?
Nope.
And the next thing you got from her was a text message at 7 in the morning?
Yes.
So when you got this text message from her, I assume you went out to look at your car?
Not right away, because she sent, the first text message, she said, enjoy your car. So I put a question mark, like, what do you mean enjoy my car? So she sent me a text message back,
and was saying, enjoy your car, I'm not mad anymore. I guess she got me, whatever she did to my car. I still don't know to this point. So I see the text message. I go downstairs to see what this enjoy your car means. I go downstairs, I see the car is keyed. So I'm looking like, oh, man,
Can I see the photographs?
Yeah, sure.
Did you speak to her after you looked at your car?
I was text messaging her saying, you know what, I'm about to file a lawsuit, you about to get arrested for this.
Well, so do you have those text messages?
Sure. Right there.
Go.
Me and Holly met Judy met April 20.
I don't care. I already know all the facts that I care to know about up until the time you keyed his car. Now, Miss Brown, you're entitled to be angry. You snoop, sometimes you get more than you planned on getting, right? You're actually entitled to be angry and go home and say, I don't want to deal with this guy anymore. I am a beautiful young woman and I don't need somebody who's not going to do the right thing to me. You're not allowed to vandalize his car. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
We don't have to go through these, do we?
No.
Can I see the estimate to have your car painted?
Yeah, I got 2 different estimates, so
What year car is this, sir?
it's a 93.
All right, but you do me a favor, use that brand new book that we got and look up a 1993 Lexus. So Mr. Idris would like a paint job for $9,000.
Well, that's what the guy wrote up. I didn't,
I
you know what I'm saying? I didn't.
And I would like to see what he could buy a 1993 unscratched Lexus for.
What does the other estimate say?
I know, whatever, you're suing for $5,000. I have to see what your car is worth.
Right.
1993 Lexus ES300, GS300, SC300. Which one?
What kind of car do you have?
LS400.
LS400.
Yes.
While he's looking that up, Mr. Idris, when did you purchase this car?
September of 2008.
And what did you pay for it?
Paid about 30.
Not about. I don't want to hear about.
$3,800.
Okay.
$4,025.
Got a good deal on it back in 2008. How many miles did it have on it?
153,000.
You want to give me a revised estimate on that?
3325.
That sounds
in fair condition.
That sounds more like it. Now, you have to get a good paint job.
Indeed.
How much do you think a good paint job is going to cost you?
Well, based on those estimates...
I don't want to hear about it based on those estimates, sir. Your car is worth, at most, $3,000.
Okay.
How much do you think you're going to have it repaired for? Otherwise, you'll sign it over to Miss Brown. She can sell it, and you can get a new car for $3,000. What's your pleasure?
I'm sorry? I didn't hear you.
It was a little too fast.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Is he worth it?
No, he's not.
So, right? Show him the door.
And later today...
How long was she home with the children, raising your 4 children?
Well, her, along with the maid that she had, was for quite a while, Your Honor.
Just a second. Okay. Maid that you had.
Well, okay.
A maid that you had.
That we mutually had.
That's better.
Okay, I understand that.
That's better.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Halim Idris says ex-girlfriend Chelsea Brown keyed his car in a jealous rage.
How much do you think you're going to have the car painted for?
About what you quoted, $33,000, $3,200, full paint job, and the bumper, because the bumper was damaged too. So
paint job.
About $3,000.
You better get it done for $1,000, because that's all you're going to get.
Wow.
On a $3,000 car. Nobody should invest more than a third of the car to get it painted. So I guarantee you can find somebody in New York to get it painted for you for $1,000, right?
I'll try.
I think you should try. Have you had the car painted?
No.
You driving around with it the way it is?
Still like that.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Not supposed to let your temper get the best of you. Is he worth it?
No, he's not.
So? Right?
You're right.
Show him the door. That's all. Judge complaint.
What is that excuse? You may step out.
I was looking for numbers, pictures, anything I could find.
Listen, man, it was a picture of one girl.
Naked girls.
She wasn't naked.
He kept telling me that they old pictures.
So she's making up stories.
He had different stories.
That's all she's doing.
Because I wanted him to feel how I was feeling the night before.
Hey, that's just how she is.
Hurt.
I didn't tell her to go on a jealous rage.
Never mess with me no more.
That's just what Chelsea do.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Awad versus Awad, step forward, please.
Dennis Awad is suing his ex-wife, Sandra Awad, for her share of their daughter's college tuition.
Mr. Awad, you and the defendants have children and are divorced. It is your claim that your former wife owes you some money for tuition and expenses for one of your children for school. You claim that there was an agreement with her that she would pay half of those expenses. When were you divorced?
2008.
It's July 2007, Your Honor.
Can I see a copy of the decree, please? Do you have a copy of the decree, Mr. Awad?
No, not with me.
Mr. Awad, were you represented by counsel?
Yes.
Did you have counsel?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Am I correct that the judgment of divorce does not mention anything with regard to college payments?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, sir. I'm ready to listen to you.
Okay, basically, we had an agreement, Sandra and I, to be able to pay for our adult children. We have 4 children, 3 of them were going to college, and that we would pay for their tuition and expenses, housing, everything to support them.
What do you mean that they're adult children?
They were children over 18.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were, you know, what I would consider adult children.
No, they're not adult children, sir. They're not for the purpose of college tuition. And that should have been in your decree.
Well, I mean, they're older children. I mean, I don't know.
The child for whom you are seeking reimbursement is how old?
Today, she's 22.
And for what year are you requesting reimbursement of her tuition?
Your Honor,
for this last year.
What?
For this last year.
What is she still doing in school at age 23?
She is trying to get her master's degree in 5 years, and she just actually had been able to achieve that this last month. So she's finished, almost finished with her degree.
Tell me when you made this arrangement with your former wife about paying tuition.
This arrangement was made over a period of time.
No. Listen, Mr. Awad. When did you make this arrangement with your wife, this contract, not arrangement, contract with your wife to pay for half of your children's tuition?
It was made when she started to go to school, which would have been, I guess, probably 2006. But we continued it each time. We would have to renew the tuition. We would have to go ahead and get sometimes loans to be able to provide for her schooling.
That's a voluntary payment, sir. Let me read to you what your decree says. This judgment is intended to be final, complete, and exclusive of the intent of the parties over the matter it covers. It supersedes any previous, contemporaneous, oral or written judgment between the parties with respect to these matters. So anything that happened prior to the date that this was filed, which is July 26, 2007, is superseded by this. Now, this could have contemplated what you say, that the parties agree, despite the fact that you may have a child who's 35 years old and still wants to go to school. You think if your daughter was 35 and still wanted to go to school to get a PhD, that your former wife would be responsible for half?
Not necessarily, but in this circumstance, Your Honor, she did agree after the divorce to continue to pay for half of the expenses of her child.
Tell me when, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Here's a situation where I paid my ex-wife over $3 million, so she has plenty of money to be able to support and take care of her children, and it doesn't seem right.
No, that's not true, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dennis Awad claims ex-wife Sandra Awad owes for half of their daughter's college tuition. Sandra says she doesn't have the money.
Now, other than just paying, tell me when she said, I will continue to pay half of her expenses for as long as she goes to school.
I can't give you an exact date, Your Honor, because it happened multiple times over many years.
I can't help you, sir. I can't help you, sir. There are certain things as being parental and saying, listen, I'm sharing these expenses by sending you a check. That doesn't create a contract. That contemplates a voluntary act on her part. Just as if you say, I'm not paying for this tuition anymore, she can't take you to court and say, listen, he paid for it up until 2008, and then he just stopped. And now she's 23 years old, and she has a year left to go to school. And I shouldn't be responsible for paying all of that. Well, actually, nobody's responsible for paying for all of that.
Well, Your Honor, when we started out, at the time our children were in school, certainly we didn't know we were going to be getting divorced. And if all of a sudden, you know, a child is in school and they need support because they're not independent at that point in time, it is the responsibility of a mother and a father, if they can, to try to assist their children.
Absolutely correct. Just a second, Mr. Raywad. You are absolutely correct, in my judgment, that after a child reaches the age of majority, which is 21 years old, in most places, especially for the purposes of matrimonial actions and college, that it would be lovely if you have a talented child who wants to go pursue higher education, and if you can afford it, to say, I'm the mother, I'm the father, we're both going to contribute to that child's education. I agree with you. That's a moral responsibility if you can afford it.
Right.
It's not a legal responsibility, unless there is a contract that makes it a legal responsibility. Unless she says to you, if you pay the tuition for a daughter, I will reimburse you half of that. And that didn't happen in this case. I don't believe that that's what happened. That's not even what you say happened.
Your Honor, you know, I'm not an attorney, but I do know that over a long period of time that what we had is multiple emails, many times when both Sandra and I would agreeing to pay 50-50 share for not only their tuition, but for their expenses, their housing, all different types of things. And the children knew this, and they depended upon that. And they knew that their parents were trying to take care of them. And it would only seem...
That's a moral responsibility, sir. And it's a responsibility, if you can continue to do that for an adult child who's over 21, in this case your daughter's 23, then you're absolutely right. If you can do it, fine. But it's not a matter that can be resolved in a court. You don't have a contract with her. If your daughter wants to continue to attend school and you can afford it, and your former wife feels as if she can't afford to pay for her continued education anymore, let your daughter take out loans and pay them back when she graduates, like a lot of other people do.
Yes, I understand that, Your Honor, but here's a situation where I paid my ex-wife over $3 million, so she has plenty of money to be able to support and take care of her children, and it doesn't seem right.
No, that's not true, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
How many children do you have?
4.
What kind of work did your wife do when you were living together and raising 4 children?
She was a housekeeper.
She was a housekeeper for
the children.
I was a housewife. Just a second. For the children? She didn't work outside the home.
That's correct.
And you had a business?
Yes.
And enough of a business so that she was able to, when you divorced, have a piece of money. How long was she home with the children, raising your 4 children?
Well, her, along with the maid that she had, was for quite a while, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Okay.
Maid that you had.
Well, okay.
A maid that you had.
That we mutually had.
That's better.
Okay, I understand that.
That's better.
Okay, I don't disagree with that.
That's better. Let's say your wife got $3 million in the divorce decree. Did she get that in a lump sum?
Yes.
And you took that as a deduction on your tax returns as the following year?
No, I don't think so.
Really? Didn't have any tax benefit, and she got $3 million clean without paying any taxes on it?
I don't know exactly how the tax consequences were, but...
Let's say that's what she has. And all the time she was at home, she was honing no skills and not involved in a business. Let's say she invests that money, and she's fortunate enough to invest that $3 million at 4% interest, right?
Right. She'd make $120,000 a year.
Absolutely right. How much did you file taxes for that you earned last year? You filed taxes last year. You have a business?
Yes, I do.
Are you remarried?
No.
You filed tax returns in April?
Yes.
How much did you earn?
About $100,000.
What does that mean, about 100? I know exactly up to the quarter. Ask CBS how much I earn. To the quarter, I know. What do you mean you earn about $100,000?
Your Honor, I don't know exactly how much it is.
You don't have a case, Mr. Raywad. You want to continue to pay for your 23-year-old daughter's education? She wants to go for a master's. She wants to go for a doctorate. And if you can afford to pay it, fine. And if you can't, tell her, sweetheart, you have to take out loans. You're a big girl now. You're over 21. I can't do it myself. And your mother, at her stage and age in life, cannot afford to dip into her principal that she's going to have to live off for the rest of her life. How old are you?
56.
Hard to retrain, especially in today's economy. Do we understand each other, sir?
I understand.
Perfect. Goodbye.
All right, y'all excuse me. Step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Now it's case number 145 on the calendar in the matter of Birchler versus Baker.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Birchler, it is your claim that the defendant, who used to be your boyfriend, owes you money for a loan for bail and then a loan for some car repairs. Mr. Baker says there was never any agreement to pay you back, so there was no contract. Is that right, sir?
Yes, it is.
When were you arrested?
February 12th, 2009.
And what were you arrested for?
Driving on suspended. And I got picked up because she was on her way to work. And
just a second. You were arrested for driving with a suspended...
But I had a warrant.
You had a warrant?
Yeah.
For what?
For driving on suspended. And we were on our way to...
We're going to do this my way, sir. I know that it might confuse you, but I like to do things in a linear fashion. You were arrested on February 12th, 2009. 9 or 2010?
Probably 10. 10.
And the warrant that you were arrested on was because you had been driving without a license.
That's correct.
And you were supposed to appear in court?
Yeah, and I missed my date.
Why did you miss your date?
I didn't know which day it was, and I didn't make it to it.
You don't know what year it is?
Yeah.
So it's not surprising to me you didn't know what day it was. How long were you in jail when they arrested you on February 12th?
4.5 days.
For not having a driver's license?
Well, I had other warrants, too.
Right. Mr. Baker, we got enough aggravation in this country. We don't feed people 3 squares a day because they were driving on a suspended license. What were your other warrants for, sir?
I had 2 driving on suspended, no insurance, and seatbelt, and then tail light, and that's it.
From how many different traffic stops?
3.
And you forgot all 3 dates, Mr. Baker, that you were supposed to be in court?
Yeah.
You must be a very, very busy man, running a very busy company.
Work a lot.
Doing what?
Well, now I'm going to do construction, but back then I was standing on the side of the road waving to people, Liberty Tax, and dancing.
You were standing on the side of the road waving at people for what?
For Liberty Tax. It's an income tax place. You get your taxes done there. That was just a part-time job.
And what were you doing with the rest of your time?
I was doing construction now, but back then, that's all I was doing.
Who were you living with?
My parents.
So you weren't doing much of anything. So there was no reason why you didn't go to court for these tickets.
I just missed my dates. Stupid mistake.
And Miss Birch put up $500 towards your bail, right?
She felt sorry for me.
Well...
Because it was her fault I went to jail.
It was? Why don't you try to explain to me the best way you can why it's her fault that you went to jail?
I would have never went to jail if we would have never gotten that little argument, and she smacked me in my face. And then when she smacked me, I threw my hands up, and Mountain Dew went all over, and we were yelling at each other, and then I got out the car and tried to calm the situation down.
And tried to what?
Calm the situation down, make it better.
So you got out of the car after this argument.
Yeah.
And?
I started jogging to work because we were like a mile away from my work. She was supposed to drop me off.
So you were
work.
running away from the car?
Yeah, well, I was going to my job.
So you were running away from the car, and what happened?
Security guard saw the whole scene and picked me up.
Police picked you up?
Yeah.
So that's why it was her fault you got arrested and the warrants dropped on you?
I would have never got arrested if we would never gotten that fight. She would just drop me off my work. The whole situation would be prevented.
So it's her fault?
Pretty much, yeah.
Whose fault is it that you skipped your court dates?
That's my fault, but...
Whose fault is it that you got the tickets?
My fault, but...
Whose fault is it that you didn't have a seatbelt on?
Mine.
Whose fault is it that you were driving twice with a suspended license?
That'd be mine, too.
Well, why does somebody else have to pay for what you did wrong?
Because I wouldn't have got picked up.
Where do you live?
Independence.
Independence,
Missouri.
Missouri? You think that the police in Independence are that stupid that they'd never pick you up on a warrant?
They'd have to find me first.
What's the motto of Missouri?
Live free or die? Show me.
Show me. Show me state.
Show me state.
The show me state. I knew it was something that I would like. Okay, she put up the bail for you?
Yeah.
And how did she know where you were?
When I was in jail, I called my dad, and she was over at my house. He texted her to tell her that I wanted to talk to her, and she came over to my house.
She came over to your house, and when you called, what did you say to her?
I said hi, and she said hello. And then I asked her. Then I asked her if she would help me out, and she was like,
Would help
blah,
you
blah.
out how?
Well, I was stuck in jail and I needed $1,400, and she just got her income tax. So she was like, blah, we got talking, and she said she was sorry for smacking me, which that's how I figured I got in there. That's the whole time I was thinking that.
Mr. Baker, you got put in jail because you were irresponsible and you had been breaking the law and you had been thumbing your nose at the court system by not showing up for your court dates. That's why you were in jail.
That's not true.
Oh, Mr. Baker, there's one thing to be stupid and there's another thing to appear to be stupid. Don't combine the two. You were in jail because you broke the law, and then you thumbed your nose at the court system by saying, I'm not going to court. And you didn't do that once, you did that 3 times. That's why you were in jail. You weren't in jail because she slapped you. You were in jail because you broke the law. Now do you understand?
No.
There's your combination.
Look, that's a pretty powerful combo.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do I look like a smart lady to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? I look like a smart lady from you? Do you trust me?
Yes.
And later today.
If you're trying to be charming with me, trust me, it's not going to work.
No.
Better looking and richer people than you have tried to charm me without success.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Birchler says ex-boyfriend Ryan Baker owes for bail money and attorney fees after he was arrested on an outstanding warrant.
Okay. What do you do, Miss Birchler?
I work at a call center.
You work full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long have you been working full-time?
Since February 15th.
And how old are you?
20.
Did you work prior to that?
Yes, I worked at Macy's.
Worked there for a while?
A couple months. It was a part-time contingent job.
You live at home?
I have my own house. Well, a complex.
It's a duplex, but...
Yes, it's a duplex. I'm sorry.
You pay rent?
Yes.
You drive a car?
Yes.
You pay insurance?
It's already paid. Yes, ma'am.
You buy your own clothes?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't need him.
I understand that.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You're too young to be desperate. Do you know what I mean? Pretty young 20-year-old who works hard and supports herself.
And my son.
Not desperate. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay. Other than the $500 for bail, what does he owe you for, Miss Birchler?
About a week after I got my tax returns, he asked me if I would help him fix his car, and he said he needed to pay lawyers. I thought that's what I was understanding the money was for, so I told him he could borrow $300 as long as he promised to pay it back.
That's a lie. She didn't let me borrow it.
I don't want to hear you unless I'm looking at you and asking you a question.
This was on March 1st, and I said, as long as you pay me back $700 by...
Where was he supposed to get $700 from?
He was working, and he told me he'd give me his whole entire checks, that he wouldn't keep any of the money. So I was under the impression he might actually pay me back. So I gave him the $300 to help fix his car.
How much did he pay you back?
All in all, he paid about $100 back.
What do you mean about $100? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, he would help me around my house.
I didn't pay her nothing.
Okay.
Didn't pay her anything?
No. And I didn't have a job when she gave me that $300. I was in jail and I lost my job.
So what did you need $300 more for from
to get my fuel pump and a key ignition made? Because my ex-girlfriend, of course, I got a new girl after I got out of jail, and she was texting her about getting my car fixed. She lost my key.
I don't care. There must be lots of desperation there in Missouri. Stay away from him.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Stay away from him. Don't make any children with him. Don't get involved with him. Do I look like a smart lady to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? I look like a smart lady from you? Do you trust me?
Yes.
You escaped. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I'm quite pleased.
I didn't like it at all.
He had his new girlfriend, text me and let me know that he would not be paying back the money and that I needed to get over myself.
She was texting her, and then after I got the car fixed, she called my phone, and then my girlfriend picked it up and was talking to her.
She called me after that and told me I was a few choice words and that he would not be paying me back.
She didn't ask for any of the money until after I got a new girl.
Not date guys like him.
Don't talk to crazy girls like that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Van Buskirk versus Shook, step forward.
Wendy Van Buskirk is suing her former friend, 23-year-old Jonathan Shook, for unpaid rent, bail money, and a loan to buy an engagement ring.
Miss Van Buskirk, the defendant, according to you, was a young man that you took into your house. He was a friend of your son's. He had no place to go. You opened up your home. You took him in, and according to you, he owes you some money.
Yes, ma'am.
Claim he owes you some money for rent. This is not a major deal. But that you loaned him some money to buy an engagement ring.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want that money back.
Yes.
In addition, you bailed him out of jail in the amount of $200. What were you arrested for?
Having kitchen knives, basically. Deadly concealed weapon.
A concealed weapon?
A couple of them, yes.
Where do you live?
Waldorf, Maryland right now.
Where had you been living with the plaintiff?
It's Brandywine, Maryland.
In Maryland?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you move in with her?
I'd say right before the winter of 2008, I believe. I'm not exactly sure.
And where is her son now? You were a friend of her son's.
Right now, in jail in not Ocean City, but Atlantic City.
How long has he been in jail?
About a month.
What is your son in jail for?
Assaulting a police officer.
Couple other things.
A couple other things. I'm not exactly sure, but it's...
Well, he didn't start out just walking up to a police officer and assaulting him. It had to be...
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
And I assume he's incarcerated pre-trial.
Yes.
Does he have bail?
Yes.
How much is his bail?
$1,000.
Did he ask you to bail him out?
Yes, he did.
And why didn't you?
Well, it started off at $7,800. It's been reduced to $1,000, and unfortunately, I didn't have the money at first, and I plan on getting him out this Friday.
What was your rental arrangement with the plaintiff?
Well, when I moved in at first, nothing. I didn't have a job. I had nothing, but it,
How old are you?
I'm 23 right now.
How do you make a living? How do you support yourself?
I detail cars right now, and I actually just got a job doing telecommunications.
And what kind of work was her son doing?
At the time, when I moved in, nothing at all.
What did you borrow money from her for?
I didn't.
Did you buy your girlfriend a ring?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you get the money from?
I paid part of it, and she said she was going to give me the rest as a gift to help me out.
How much did she pay?
I'm not exactly sure the exact numbers, but I paid for about half.
The ring was $629.99, and the warranty for the ring was $74.99.
What kind of warranty do you get on a ring?
The warranty is for, you have to take in every 6 months for cleaning, replacing the diamond if it gets lost.
That's some... I won't say that. I'll hear from all the jewelers if I say that that warranty is a ripoff.
Oh, it is.
So I don't want to hear from any jewelers out there. Don't write to me. Don't say bad things. I don't understand a $75 warranty on a ring.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What were you doing obstructing traffic?
Trying to get my dog out the road at first, and then I dropped knives in the road, so I was going back to pick up knives, and then when the cops pulled up, I threw them on the road, and they still arrested me for them.
I'm staying in Greenwich.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Van Buskirk says former friend Jonathan Shook owes for rent, bail money, and a loan for an engagement ring.
Okay. Did he put anything towards the ring?
3 payments of $45, Your Honor.
That's not true. I gave her like $300 up front.
No, he did not.
And then I made the payments of $45, and she said the rest was a gift.
If you don't have money, you don't buy a ring.
Well, I understand that.
Well, you shouldn't have bought it.
I had the money that she wanted.
You didn't have the money.
And then she said the rest was a gift.
You didn't have the money.
Not all me.
If you have $300 and you want to buy a ring, find a ring for $300.
That's why
If you had $400...
Find a ring for $400.
I don't think you're cute, as a matter of fact.
I understand.
Just want you to understand that. If you're trying to be charming with me, but trust me, it's not going to work.
No.
Better looking and richer people than you have tried to charm me.
I believe it. I believe it.
Without success.
Oh, I believe it.
That didn't require a response.
Okay.
Try taking the hair out of your eyes. You'll see the world better.
All right.
Ma'am?
Don't speak.
Sorry.
Now, when you were arrested, you had a phone call to make.
Yeah.
Who'd you call?
Called a couple people just to let them know I was locked up, and then next thing I know, I was out of jail.
You never called the plaintiff?
Never talked to her.
How did you find out he was in jail?
Through my daughter-in-law, Nicole.
Through your daughter-in-law?
Yes.
This child is married to your son who's incarcerated?
No. No.
To another son?
Yes.
Okay. How did you find out he was in jail?
I was with him when he got arrested.
What were you all doing?
We were walking down the side of the road trying to keep him from going inside the road.
Explain that to me. Look at me when you explain it to me.
He was just upset, and...
He was upset about what?
I don't exactly remember about what. Something that was stressing him out, and he was just walking in and out of one of the main roads, so we were just walking next to him, making sure he didn't get hurt. Me, Johnny, and a friend of his that was with us.
So he was trying to walk in traffic?
He was just walking in the road. We were walking on the side of the road. He just happened to walk in the road. We were just walking with him down the side of the road. And the cops ended up coming up saying that he was impeding traffic and he had a whole bunch of knives on him.
Was he high on drugs?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Well, probably was high on drugs or something if he was impeding traffic. And then they searched him and found these concealed weapons?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, terrific. Now, what did he say when he called you? I assume he called you from jail?
Well, he called Wendy from jail.
Called her?
Yes.
Good. Sit down. She says he called you from jail.
He begged me to get him out of jail. I have a receipt for bail and the bail.
How long were you in jail, Mr. Shoup?
Like 8, 9 hours. Not even that long. They, PG County out in Maryland, they let you out the next morning, or I'd have been let out that night when they paid my bail, but I never...
You used drugs, Mr. Shoup?
Used to.
What was your drug of choice, sir?
Marijuana.
What else?
That's it.
Were you high on the day you were arrested?
Nah, I've been clean for like 3 years, 4 years now, actually.
Then what were you doing obstructing traffic?
Trying to get my dog out the road at first, and then I dropped knives in the road. They were in a box, and I dropped the box to go chase after the dog in the road. There you go. Once I got the dog back, I went to go get the knives out the road, and that's when the state trooper pulled up. And I was walking down the road, and he didn't lock me up that day, he locked me up the next day. It was a confusing situation, and then they dropped the charges after it all was done and over with, so it just didn't make no sense.
I'm staying in Greenwich.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Have you been cheated? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay. Did you call her and ask her to bail you out of jail?
No, ma'am. I don't even know the house number to call her.
You used to live there. How long did you live there?
About 1.5 years, but I never used the house phone. I have a cell phone.
You have 10 seconds to tell me about rent, because I'm not actually interested. Go!
He paid $100 a month prior to moving out. He didn't pay for 3 months.
When did you move out of the house?
I'd say around October of last year. I just couldn't stay there no more. And she had said something about, you know, getting the couches and everything out of there, which I didn't understand. It was not my problem. You know, it's her son's bedroom, and we both brought the couches in, and why do I have to take the couches out of the room? If they were his couches, he's the one that got bought.
Just give her the money for the ring and your bail. $495 for the ring and $200 for your bail. Perfect. Take your hair away from your eyes. Go to the barber. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Yeah, it's case number 94 on the calendar in the matter of Martella versus Tafoya.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss Martella, who is this young man?
This is my son, Vance.
How old is he?
18.
Was he present during any of these incidents?
Yes, he was.
How many children do you have?
3.
How old are they?
My daughter, Sarah, is 20. He's 18, and my youngest is 10 months.
10 months?
Yes.
And how many children do you have?
Ma'am, only one.
The child that you have with the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did you and the plaintiff have a relationship, sir?
Ma'am, about 2 months.
Is that right, Miss Martella?
No.
How long was your relationship?
About 2 years.
Was it an exclusive relationship for you?
Yes.
And what about for you?
No.
How old are you?
31.
And how old are you, Miss Martella?
43.
This is your claim. You have a 10-month-old child who I understand that you participate with and see. You claim that during a period where he was watching the child, you came home, you smelled marijuana in the house, you had an argument with him, and he assaulted you. Subsequently, when your child was hospitalized briefly because she has certain physical disabilities, there was another confrontation at the parking lot of the hospital, and the defendant says that you actually were the violent one, that you damaged his property. So let me understand something, Miss Martella. Why would you have another child with a young man who is 12, 13 years your junior?
It just happened. I never did a younger man before. He was pursuing me, and we started out as friends. He was supposed to come over and show me how to do something on my computer with eBay, and one thing led to another, and it just happened.
So for the time you knew each other, how much of that time were you just friends?
I had given him my number a couple months prior to that, and he used to text me. And then after a couple of months, I answered his text, and then I was at a picnic, and he was there. And
so how long did you actually date?
About a year, year and a half.
Well, now we're talking about from 2 years, it's down to a year. He says it was a couple of months. All right, tell me about this first incident. When was it?
It was on February 2nd. I had come home from work, and when I came in the house, it smelled like marijuana, and I did get upset. We got in an argument. My son was in the living room. I saw that he was getting a little more upset, so I went into my room, and he came to my door and asked me to open the door, and I told him no. And I said, you need to leave. Just go be with Sarah, because I knew he was seeing this girl, Sarah. And I said, just go with Sarah. Leave me alone. I said, I'm upset. So then he goes, I'm going to kick your door in. And then that's when I heard my son come up behind him, and he said, you kick that door, I'm going to kick you. And I heard him say, okay. And I thought he had left, so I was listening at the door, and I didn't hear him, so I opened the door, and then he had come back in, and
he came in where?
Back into the house, and then we continued to fight, and he pushed me on the bed, and then he hit me in the ribs, and he saw my phone, and he thought I had some spy thing, my phone spying on his phone calls, because I knew about the girl Sarah, and he picked up my phone and he broke it.
And where was your son all this time?
He was in the living room at first, but then I heard him behind him saying, you kick the door, I'm going to kick you.
Well, I heard that already. My question was, where was he when all this was going on?
He was in
oh, yeah? Stand. Your name?
Vance Leia.
Vance. Go. February 2nd.
I was there, and Donnie had went over to my mom's bedroom. They were having a fight, and he kicked the door.
Before they had a fight, who was taking care of the baby?
My mother was.
No, she wasn't home. She was working.
Oh, sorry. Donnie was.
Yes. Donnie was. And what were you doing?
I was just on the couch reading my book.
And he had been taking care of the baby for how long?
Since my mom left for work in the morning.
Did he take good care of the baby?
No.
Did you call your mother and tell her that he wasn't taking good care of the baby?
I had texted her.
And what did you say? You texted her?
I said, this idiot's not watching the baby at all.
That's what you said. This idiot's not watching the baby at all.
Yes.
Did she answer your text, Vance?
No, she didn't answer my text, but then she came home.
Didn't answer your text. She didn't say to you, like a normal mother, if he's not taking care of the baby, then you should take care of your sister?
Well, I checked in her every once in a while.
What do you mean you checked in on her every once in a while?
I just walked in there like every hour or so.
And what was he doing?
He was on the computer that was in the room.
The computer in what room?
In my mother's room.
Now, your mother says she came home and she smelled marijuana. You didn't mention anything to me about somebody smoking marijuana.
Well, later on in the day, I smelled marijuana, but we also have skunks.
No, you didn't mention that to me at all, Vance. And you said that you texted your mother later on in the day when you said, this idiot's not watching the baby. The first thing I would have texted is, this idiot is smoking dope in the house and is not watching the baby. But you didn't say that, Vance.
Well, because we have skunks in the area, and it smells just like skunk weed, which he buys and smokes in the house. So I didn't know if it was skunk weed or a skunk.
I'm not buying this story. Do you understand? I'm not buying that part of your story.
Your Honor, I know the marijuana had to have been smoked within 15 minutes because it smelled when I hit the door.
Maybe he smoked it.
No, my son doesn't smoke marijuana. Anyway, I wouldn't have gotten that upset. Yeah. I would have started an argument with him. I smelled marijuana, and that was what our fight was about. I told him, you need to leave. My daughter had a heart condition. Why would he be smoking marijuana in my house with my daughter having a heart condition?
Just a second. He didn't see him smoking marijuana. He didn't text you about marijuana. Listen to me very carefully. He didn't. Now you can sit.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I texted him, you're heartless and cruel. I didn't write nothing on no mirror. I'm not no crazy woman like he's explained. I did snap the one time when I smelled the marijuana. I did snap.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy Martella says ex-boyfriend Donald Tafoya owes for destroying her belongings and 2 assaults. Donald is countersuing for damage to his truck.
Okay, so he came back into the house and did what?
He came back in and started yelling at me, calling me names again. I told him to leave. I was trying to shut the door, but he kept pushing in. We just kept fighting. I mean, that's just basically what it's been ever since he started using again. And he came in, we started fighting. He pushed me on the bed, and I told him to go with Sarah's. I knew he was seeing this girl named Sarah because of the computer.
When did you find out that he was seeing Sarah? There's a question on the floor.
Around January 1st or 2nd.
And how did you find out he was seeing a girl named Sarah?
Because he left his MySpace up on my computer one day on his message thing, and it was messages to different girls. Sarah was one of them.
And
I confronted him about it.
Well, you weren't seeing each other anymore in January.
Your Honor, we had an agreement at the beginning when they told me my daughter was going to be born with a heart defect. They told me that it wasn't going to be a one-man job. And we had a talk, and we decided we were going to put our lives aside, and we were going to take care of our daughter. So we agreed to have her, and we had her. And from that point on, it's just been one incident after another after another. And I told him I couldn't have him at my house this way because I was too emotionally involved. And I couldn't have that going on in my house.
It wasn't going on in your house. He wasn't bringing women to your house, was he?
I told him I didn't want to put up with with the lies and all that stuff. Just leave it alone. He kept telling me, no, my daughter means more to me. It's just, I believed him. It was my fault. I believed him.
You weren't together.
We were together. He's the one who's saying we weren't together. We were together when it was convenient for him.
He's 30 years old. You're 43. You have 2 grown children. He has nobody. He may be a fool. He may be an idiot. He may be a drug addict. You are a grown woman with grown children who should know better. You know, and then you want him to put life on hold to take care of a sick baby.
Well, our personal lives, not our...
I'm talking about your personal lives.
We wanted to go, we're both in college. We both wanted to get through the semester, get through the surgery until she recovered, and then help take care of her, because she couldn't leave the house, Your Honor. There had to be 24-hour care there.
What else?
The incident on March 10th is when my daughter had surgery, and I hadn't seen him the whole month before. And he showed up at the hospital under the influence.
Who told you that she was having surgery?
I knew about the date beforehand of the surgery was going to be. She tried to withhold it from me, actually, because she didn't want me to be there. I love my daughter, and it's really hard.
Just a second. So you showed up at the hospital. What time did you get there?
Early in the morning. I was going to go on the drive truck over there. I have a big truck. But she offered to actually pick me up and take me over there. And she picked me up at my grandmother's early in the morning, so I don't know how she's saying that I was under the influence of the hospital.
Just a second. She picked you up at your grandmother's?
Yes.
So you went to the hospital together?
Yes, we did.
So, Miss Martella, when you went to the hospital on March 10th, how did you get there?
I drove.
Who was in the car with you?
Myself and him.
This is your sworn complaint. Our daughter had heart surgery on March 10th, and Donald was nowhere to be found. He eventually showed up at the hospital, but he was drunk.
He showed up.
No. You picked him up. You didn't say that. You picked him up in the morning.
We were at his grandmother's house.
I'm talking to you about what you wrote in your complaint. What you wrote in your complaint was he showed up at the hospital later drunk. That's not true. You picked him up with your daughter and went to the hospital together.
He left the hospital. He left the hospital on the Metrolink, came back under the influence. He had been using the whole time. I told him he could not be at the hospital loaded, and he had to go back to his grandmother's and get clean before he was going to be there. He went to his grandmother's supposedly, but he wasn't. He was out all night getting loaded.
On what date did you have this conversation?
Like 4 or 5 days.
Hey!
Like 4 or 5 days before the surgery. His grandmother called me and asked me to bring the dog.
Listen to me. Your story, when I read your complaint, didn't make sense to me.
I apologize, Your Honor.
Well, it didn't make sense to me. You tell me one lie and I don't believe the rest.
I didn't tell you a lie.
You did.
He left the hospital.
Listen to me. You didn't say he came with you and then he left and he came back drunk. What you said was he eventually showed up, but he showed up drunk. He was nowhere to be found. Finish your story.
Okay, so we went to the hospital, and it was time for her to get released. It was March 17th, actually, because she was in there for a week. They told me what I needed to do, that she was ready to be discharged. I had to go get her prescriptions, and I had to go get the stroller. I asked him to go get the prescription while I went to get the stroller, and he said, don't do it yourself. So I was walking down to my car to get the stroller. He's walking down behind me, calling me names. We're arguing like his MO because he wants to go take off. He didn't want to go back and take care of her. So I said, just please leave me alone. Let me just get her stuff. So I started getting her stuff. He starts pulling stuff out of the back seat, acting crazy because he was loaded. And then he started throwing my stuff across the parking lot. He kicked my purse. I went to go get my purse. He grabbed me by my ponytail and pulled me down to the ground. And that's when I started calling for security.
That's not what you say in your complaint. What you say in your complaint was this whole incident happened on March 10th, not March 17th. You say that this happened when he came to the hospital on the date of your daughter's surgery and he was drunk. Now you tell me it had nothing to do with March 10th.
Well,
that was March 7th. No, that was March 17th, a different date. Go ahead, sir. Let me hear February 2nd.
To tell you the truth, ma'am, Vance wasn't even there. And if what he's saying is true...
What kind of drug problem do you have?
You know, I haven't done drugs for over 2 years.
What kind?
That's a lie.
If you open your mouth again, I'm just going to dismiss your case.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I suggest that if you are not currently under some sort of psychiatric care, you get yourself there.
Ex-boyfriend Donald Tafoya purposely damaged her property and assaulted her on 2 separate occasions.
What kind of drugs had you used?
I had a marijuana problem, and I had a serious drinking problem, and I went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I got help in Narcotics Anonymous, and that's where I met Kathy, because Kathy is also a recovering addict. You know, I mean, she had more time, and, you know, I really actually admired her when I met her. I thought she was a really strong woman in recovery. I didn't see her anger and jealous side. And as time went on, actually, you know, I ended up staying over there.
February 2nd.
Okay, February 2nd, man. I was there. I woke up with the baby in the morning. Kathy always seemed to make it as a package deal. Like, if you're going to mess with any girls at all, you can't see your daughter at all. And I would kind of, you know, I would manipulate a little bit, I'll be honest with you, because I wanted to see better on my daughter. And it was like, if not exclusive to Kathy and I'm messing with anybody else, I can't see my daughter, and she goes into a rage. Anyways, I actually texted her because she has a cousin who's an active addict right now, and she lives at the house, right? And I actually...
She lives at whose house?
At the same house. It's actually her brother's house.
Does she live at the house with the plaintiff?
Yes. And she actually, you know, I smell marijuana. I texted her about that, and she...
What did you say in the text?
I said, I smell marijuana, and it kind of concerned me because my daughter was there, and I was really, really upset about the marijuana thing.
He's lying, Your Honor. My cousin doesn't even smoke cigarettes. She doesn't smoke marijuana. He was smoking the marijuana. My son does not smoke marijuana.
Listen, you don't know any of that. You weren't home.
He's the one that smelled like marijuana. My son didn't smell like marijuana.
I don't believe you, Miss Martella.
And he never texts me. My son texts me, Mom, you need to come home. My son did not text me.
Miss Martella, I don't believe you.
He was getting high the whole time. I didn't know this at the time, Your Honor. I did not know. He was the one
You want to tell me about your counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am. On that same day, actually...
Which day?
On the 2nd. Actually, what happened was she ran outside. She's always one of the people like, get out of here, leave. And then when I'm trying to leave, she'll run out and chase the car and say, why are you leaving? You don't want to take care of your daughter. But she'll tell me to leave. This is a situation that has been going on the whole time.
Just tell me what happened on the 2nd.
Okay, she actually ran out. I have the evidence right here, is that she ran out and pulled the spark plug wires from under my truck. I have a lifted truck, right? It's very high, right? And if you reach under the wheel well, you could like pull the wires out. And she didn't want me to leave, and I seen her coming from underneath the truck, and she pulled the 3 wires out on this side.
You didn't see her pull the wires out?
I seen her under my truck. So on the very next day, which is on there 2-3, I took this to La Puente Auto Care, and they did a diagnostic, and it says right here, customer advised spark plug wires 1, 3, and 7 were hanging off, were not attached to the spark plugs. And muffler was also damaged by vehicle backfiring, and it was $500.02. You can see this picture right here. My house where I live, it was real easy to walk inside my house. It's Glendora, California. It's a real safe community by Sierra Madre. Doors are open. That's why we do it, you know, over there. Because people, it's a pretty trustworthy area. And she went in my room, and I found this on my mirror when I was out with Sarah. She wrote, "You're cruel and heartless. I hate you."
Can I see it, please?
And
with this girl, Sarah, told me he was with one of his hiking buddies. And he was at the hospital. He said, come to my house. And he was crying. And so I went to his house, and I'm outside. I text him, and he's, oh, I'm at the hospital. And I said, well, we're here. We're outside. I thought you said you were done. My daughter started crying. I said, you know what? Your daughter's crying. I'm going to go in the house, and I'm going to change her. So I took her in the room. I changed her diaper. I texted him, you're heartless and cruel, and I left. I didn't write nothing on no mirror. I'm not no crazy woman like he's explained. I did snap the one time when I smelled the marijuana. I did snap because my daughter was having heart surgery. I just couldn't imagine anybody doing that. He was the one that smelled like marijuana. When he was pulling me, when he punched me, I smelled marijuana on him, not on anybody else. And
it's over. Listen to me. It's over. You had a child that you shouldn't have had. And it's going to be actually your responsibility and your burden if she has problems.
I know from now on it will be.
Have you ever had a paternity test?
No.
Is not an answer.
No, ma'am.
I suggest you do that.
She was a pretty virtuous woman in my eyes, to tell you the truth. I never even questioned it because I don't think she sticks around.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I should never thought about it that way.
I don't know.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you the victim of an assault? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
How often do you see your daughter?
You know, it's like if I'm not getting along with her, I can't see her. So I have to really kiss her kind of like similar language. I have to kiss up to her really, really bad, or she won't let me see her at all. And then she said,
That is not true,
and
Your
she
Honor.
says I'm not taking care of my responsibility
such a liar.
because I'm not there. But she said that if I'm not like really like all like on her, she won't let me see my daughter.
Your Honor, I don't want anything to do with this man. We broke up in December. I found out on January 1st I was pregnant. I was common decency to tell him. I never call him. I don't go to his house. He shows up at my house. He shows up at my work and calls me crying, telling me he's gonna commit suicide. He doesn't come visit her. He doesn't want to visit her. And when he's there, he just looks at her sitting in the chair. He tells my daughter to shut up.
Never,
And I'm gonna get eaten.
never happened.
No, you're lying.
Never happened.
He tells my daughter to shut up because he's an idiot.
What kind of drugs had you used, Miss Martella?
Meth, the same he used.
When was the last time both of you were drug tested?
I actually, because of the course going on, I go to a sober living house that I used to live at, and I pay them $6 a test, and I have them test me.
Blood or urine?
Urine.
When was the last time either of you had blood tests?
Never.
Just when the baby was born. Oh, I had like 3 or 4 done. That's how they found out that she was going to have Down syndrome, was through my blood test.
Amnio, same thing.
No, it wasn't the amnio.
No.
It was not the amnio. He doesn't even know.
Ms. Martella, I suggest that if you are not currently under some sort of psychiatric care, you get yourself there.
Agree.
You get yourself there.
Okay.
You need it. You chose a young
Your
guy.
Honor, you make it
Listen
sound
to
like
me.
that. I haven't talked to this man.
You chose a young guy to be involved with, and you didn't take sufficient care so that you wouldn't have a problem. If he is, as you say, totally irresponsible with regard to his...
Your Honor, I have tried to make police reports.
How do you try to make a police report?
Because you pull your fire car.
The case is dismissed. So's your counterclaim.
Parties are excused. You may step up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Back with you.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Yes, this is case number 170 on the calendar in the matter of Maroney versus Augusti Castro.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Maroney, it is your claim that you made a loan to the defendant some time ago. It was a substantial loan that you paid back some, but then stopped repaying the loan. You want the balance, which is somewhat more than this court's maximum of $5,000, but you're prepared to settle for that. Ms. Castro says that while she acknowledges this alleged loan, she says that you forgave the balance of the loan. Now, who is this?
My husband.
Could you
and
stand
he's a
up?
witness.
Stand up. How long have you and the defendant been married, Mr. Castro?
18 years.
I'm not speaking to you. How long?
18 years.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Castro?
Now I disabled.
What's the nature of your disability?
Back problem
How long have you had back problems?
since 1990.
How long have you been on disability?
Since 1991.
So you have chronic back problems for which you receive disability. How much do you receive?
Around 1,300.
A month.
Yes.
What kind of work does your wife do?
Real estate and doing readings.
And what?
Doing readings.
Real estate and what, Miss Castro?
I own a consignment store.
Consignment?
Consignment store.
What kind?
Antiques and...
Furniture, clothes, what kind of consignment?
Furnitures and paintings and lamps.
Oh, I'm going to love this case, Bird, and you're going to love it.
Okay.
And we're going to get back to this in a minute. Now, Miss Maroney, when did you make this initial loan?
April 24th, 2009, Your Honor.
Tell me about it.
I was in her real estate office, and we had been friends for about 8 years. And she asked me, can I borrow some money from you?
For what?
She didn't specify. But because she's a friend and was a friend and I trusted her, I agreed to lend her the money.
What kind of work do you do? Don't look over there. Look over here.
At that time, I was working at my Elena's store.
Whose store?
My witness, Elena Yorman.
What kind of store does she have?
It's a mystical store, bookstore.
Okay. Now, show me from where you took $10,000. Show me from where you took.
It was from my bank account.
Show me.
Okay.
I want to see it.
I have a copy of the check that I wrote to her with her endorsed signature, and I have a copy of one of the payments that she made to me.
I'm not interested in payment. I'm interested in your bank balance.
Okay. I also have the canceled checks and 2 police reports also.
You want these police reports?
Sure.
Cool.
I don't know what you're talking about with regard to a police report. Now, according to you, you paid her back some money, right?
I was making payments monthly.
From where?
From my money.
Check or cash?
I gave her checks.
Do you have those checks?
No, I didn't bring them.
Where did you think you were coming today? To the beach?
Well, I
what?
should have thought about it.
Now, I read your answer. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Miss Castro Bird says that when her husband with a disability went to deliver furniture from her store to Miss Maroney, they messed around a little bit. And because of that, she stopped paying the loan. Do you understand, Mr. Castro?
No.
What I'm suggesting to you, sir, is let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
You say that something happened when you were delivering furniture to Miss Maroney, right?
Yes. Happens all the time when I deliver the furniture.
When you delivered furniture?
Most of the time.
When you delivered furniture. I want to know, how heavy was the furniture you were delivering, sir? And how did you manage that with your bad back?
And managed by myself.
You managed by yourself. Sit down,
No,
Mr. Castro. This is like shooting fish in a barrel. Sit.
Thank you.
It's a nice business you have going there, Miss Castro. You have a consignment shop, and you have your husband who gets $1,300 a month because he's disabled delivering your furniture. That's great.
Well, he wasn't
I want you to tell you something. I feel terrific about that.
He wasn't delivering furniture.
Hey, yes, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was. Just a second. Miss Castro, do you believe that your husband had an inappropriate sexual relations with the plaintiff?
My husband.
The answer is either yes or no. Do you believe that your husband had an inappropriate sexual relation with the plaintiff? Yes or no?
Inappropriate in what way?
Inappropriate in any way. If he's married to you.
He did have sex with her.
He did have sex with her?
Yeah, he did.
So why did you stop paying her the loan?
Because after I found out that he had done that, because he went ahead and confessed to me, even though the plaintiff was trying to say that.
Listen to me very carefully. The plaintiff isn't married to you.
I know.
Listen to me. Plaintiff isn't married to you. If he hadn't, she says it was sort of non-consensual.
That's a lie. She got undressed.
I don't want you to
And
speak.
touch his
I
parts.
don't want you to speak when I'm speaking.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I hear you.
Want you to put your listening ears on. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
I know.
So listen.
I'm listening.
She's not married to you.
That's right. And I wouldn't want to.
You're not paying attention. You're speaking and not paying attention. She's not married to you for 18 years. He's married to you for 18 years.
Yeah.
And if you acknowledge that she gave you money, the fact that he, your husband of 18 years, who collects disability and delivers furniture, had sex with your friend, does not give you,
She cannot be my friend.
Just listen to me. Pay attention, Miss Castro. Does not give you license not to repay her the money.
But she told me not to pay her.
Just a second. Do you understand me? Women don't seem to get it.
I get it.
No, you don't get it. I am assuming, for the purpose of this case, that there was a consensual relationship. I want you to be quiet and put on your 2 listening ears.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's a pig and an animal.
I want to tell you something. No. He is, and he's also a scammer, and so are you.
And later today,
we went into her room and we let her know that she shouldn't be afraid of the future. It held bright and beautiful things, and that we were going to purchase a car for her.
Who told her that?
Maroney claims former friend Aida Augusti Castro borrowed money from her and refuses to pay it back.
Madam, I am assuming that it was a consensual relationship. You're speaking. You're not listening. It doesn't give you license not to pay her. What you could do is you could throw him out on the street.
I thought about it.
No, not thought. Listen
He
to
was
me.
very close.
Listen to me. Not think about it, Miss Castro. He was the one who took a vow to you, not her.
I know.
Him. This one.
She's an
You see the
immoral
problem? You
person.
see the problem with you, Miss Castro,
And she
is you're not paying attention.
Yeah, I pay attention to you.
Good. When you start to lie like he did in 1990 and started to lie about his disability and who knows what else, lying becomes a habit.
No, he doesn't have a
Lying, do you understand, Mr. Castro?
Never lie.
Becomes a habit. You were delivering furniture to her house when this happened. You were-
Furniture, no. At that moment, no. I'm not delivering
At that
furniture.
moment. What are lamps?
That's not furniture, it's lamps.
Were you delivering lamps?
Sure.
Yep. Were you delivering lamps?
Not at the moment, no. I'm fixing lamps.
Were you fixing lamps that you had delivered?
Yes.
Eventually, we get it. You owe her $5,000. Do me a favor, I'm finished with
She's
them.
a pig and an animal.
I want to tell you something.
And
No. He is, and he's also a scammer, and so are you, because
No,
you
I'm
live
not.
on that $1,300 a month, too.
No,
Goodbye.
He doesn't do that.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She lied. She went around saying that he was the one that raped her.
It was not consensual.
That other woman is a pig and an immoral person.
It was a very complicated issue and difficult to prove.
আমি গেম প্লে দেখতেছি হ্যাকারের মতন পুরো হ্যাকার
ওটা রিপোর্ট মারতেছি আমি ওটা ইউআইডি সার্চ করে রিপোর্ট মারতেছি
ব্রো এত কেমনে সম্ভব ব্রো
মিয়া তুমি হ্যাকার নিয়ে গেম প্লে করো
নো
এই কাজ করো না ভাই
আই এম রোস্টার ব্রো
এই প্লেয়ারে
দেখি ভাই তোমার রোস্টিং
I dislike hacker bro. I dislike hacker.
তুমি হ্যাকার নিয়ে গেম প্লে করতেছো
No
ভাই এটা
bro,
কাজের ভিডিও ভাই
This
But
is
I
not
like-
good, bro. This is not good. Oh, pom 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 pom.
ভাই পারলে এই যে ইয়ে আছে না তোমার পাইরেটস ওইটার সং বইলা দেখো মুখ দিয়া
কোনটা
পাইরেটস অফ দা পরের নাম জানি
ভাই তোমার নাম তোমার ইউটিউব চ্যানেল চকোলেট গেমার তাই না
Yes. You are right.
You're right, bro. Yes. You're right.
Bro.
আবার হ্যাকার মারা দি ভাই স্পাইসি হ্যাকার গেমটা রে রিভাইভ দো ভাই
Enemy को क्या कर लेते हो?
এটার কাছে 5000 টোকেন রিভাইভ দো আমগো টিমমেট একটা হ্যাকার আমগো টিমমেট কি আমগোরে মারতাছে নাকি আমি এটা বুঝলাম
এটা রেকর্ড করে আবার ইউটিউবে ছেড়ে দিই তারপরে বুঝবা
রেকর্ড করো ভাই সিরিয়াস কথা রেকর্ড করো
Yes,
আমি বলতেছি
রেকর্ড করো।
আরে ভাই তুমি হ্যাকার নিয়ে খেলতেছো কেন ভাই বুঝলাম না তো
রেকর্ড করে শুনো, রেকর্ড করে বলবা যে চকলেট ভাই হ্যাকার নিয়ে খেলায়, রোস্টার হয়ে হ্যাকার নিয়ে খেলায়। কন্টেন্ট হয়ে গেল, যাও একটা কন্টেন্ট বানাই দিলাম তোমারে।
ওর নাম খারাপ হয়ে যাবে রিভাইভ দাও ভাই চকলেট ভাই রিভাইভ দাও
আমার ওটা র‍্যান্ডম প্লেয়ার পড়ছিল বুঝছো, ওই প্লেয়ার যেটা আছে হ্যাকার বলতেছো আর কি, তাসিন না কি জানো, রোমান না কি।
ওই যে ভাই পুরো হেডশট ভাই 500 হেডশট ভাই 500 হেডশট
এই যে হেডশট कैसे मार लेते हैं हेडशॉट इधर मेरा वो यह होता है या कुछ होता है
টোকেন নিতে বলছে রে নিচে কয়শো দিছে ও মা 700 হেডশট দুইজনই হ্যাকার নাকি দুইজনই মনে সেম আরে রে টোকেন দেখছো কাছে
এরা মনে একই গ্রুপের সদস্য। ও দেখো इसको बचाओ तासिन को बचाओ रोमान, ये जोन आ रहा है रोमान भागो इधर से।
भाई रिवाइव দিতে বলো মাইক অন করে
रिवाइव दो ओ माइक ही ऑफ है ना, ये रिवाइव दो बंदे को रिवाइव दो, हम दोनों बंदे को। अब कैसे खेल रहे तो अब हैकर हो क्या?
आप लोग चूतिया हो क्या? हैकर के द्वारा गेम प्ले करते हैं।
हैकर के तरह कुछ कुछ होता है।
चूतिया लोग हैकर के तरह गेम प्ले करते हैं, जैसे ये दोनों तासीन और रोमान।
अब रिवाइव करो ना तासीन।
ए लॉन्डो रिवाइव करवे।
किधर किधर मान रहे हैं? देखो ये टैंक के पास खड़ा हुआ है जिधर से पेट्रोल बाहर आता है।
भाई ओको यूआईडी টা ঠিক আছে একটু কালেক্ট করে নিতে প্লিজ। তো यूआईडी দেখে কোন জায়গাতে?
গেরিনার অ্যাডমিন কিন্তু আমার ইয়া ক্লোজ ভাই, আমি এদের আইওআইডি দিলে সাথে সাথে ব্যান হয়ে যাবে, সাথে সাথে।
ভাই করোনা ভ্যান ভাই, হ্যাকার ভাই পুরো গেমটারে নষ্ট করে ফেলাইতেছে।
2 মিনিট টাইম লাগবে না ব্যান হইতে আইডি। হ্যাঁ এ বাম পাশে এনিমি আছে, বাম পাশে হ্যাকার, বাম পাশে দেখো, বাম পাশে দেখো। हाँ
भाई आईडी हनी बैन खाए वो भाई।
आईडी खत्म होगा, आईडी खत्म। तुम समझोगे